Yeah, we're going to end up on WATP over this one, too. I'm going to have to delete today's episode for sure. Just don't tag me on Twitter and shit when people rip me apart and shit on our show and everything else. I don't need to see.
Cuz-a-roo, slap-a-rooney.
It's showtime.
Ba-da-ba-ba. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Ba-da-ba-ba. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Podcasts are the best, except for when they're not.
Come to think there's really just a handful that don't suck.
And that's where we come in. Podcast reviews by Carl Goldberg, Commander, and
Bryan and Doug.
WATP, WATP, WATP. Who are these podcasts?
WATP.
Who likes these podcasts? Not WATP. Who rates these podcasts? That one's beyond me. Who are these podcasts? WATP.
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 Hello, Rubber Dicks and Cuzzaroos, and welcome to another episode of Who Are These Podcasts, the only show that doesn't spend half the episode panhandling. I'm Doug, and with me today, a man who regrets agreeing to do this. It's Bryan Johnson.
Hello,
Please
everyone.
What's up, Bryan? Please go to whoarethese.com to get our email address, voicemail number, link to the subreddit, link to the Discord server, link to our merchandise, link to our YouTube channel, and link to our Patreon and Supercast, featuring 2 exclusive bonus episodes every single month. And you can watch the unedited show anytime that you want. We encourage listeners to give WATP a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and then shit all over them in the comments section. Today, we will be reviewing a show called Steel Toe Morning Show. This was a suggestion from everybody on the internet. We have both listened separately, and we've not discussed this with each other. Let's get into it. Steel Toe Morning Show was a Minnesota radio show hosted by Aaron Imholt until a couple of years ago. From my research, it appears that he applied for a radio job in Des Moines, Iowa, didn't get a call back, and then lashed out at the lady that got the job. He got fired and then started streaming the show on the internet with his wife, April. Bryan,
Yes.
what can you tell us about Steel Toe?
What can I tell you about Steel Toe? I discovered Steel Toe through Carl. He was talking about him one day, and I then looked up on Reddit. I saw that there was a sub dedicated to them, Steel Toe Boring Show, which really was not inviting, but it was at the same time, because it's, you know, it's no different than Shuli's Anonymous or Dabbler's Anonymous. It's like they just want to take down Steel Toe. And Steel Toe, from what I see, he wants to be Stern. He wants to be Anthony. And I just watched, literally last night, the Vice special about the dark side of the 2000s with the shock jockery and all that shit.
Okay.
And it's like, if you think that we are ever going to revisit those times again with the misogyny and the this and the that, like, yeah, I mean, you were there, you saw it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
My wife is considerably younger than me, so she was not familiar with Stern or Opie or the Radio Wars or any of that shit. And she was just like, whoa, like, I can't believe this shit was going on. But it's very similar to what's going on today with the podcast wars. You know, you got Chad and you got Kevin. Now Carl's in the mix. You got Steel Toe, who's about to, I mean, Steel Toe, I could talk about Steel Toe for a while, but you're the one who did the homework. You're the one who had to slog through the Steel Toe portion of this show.
So I was with you in your description of Steel Toe up until you put him in, or Steel Toe, in the same category as all the other shows. He tries inserting himself into it in anything that's going on from what I've seen. And
until it gets too hot, until the heat gets turned up too much, like with Chad, and then he bags, you know, everybody's mentally ill. Everybody is a hater. Everybody is a troll. It's like, you can't, especially in today's world, Steel Toe included, you can't just dislike something. You have to be trolling them or a hater or something. It's like, no, you watch Steel Toe, and my feeling is, objectively, it sucks. It seems like they should just remove the Stern stuff, remove the Opie stuff, give up the dreams of the shock jockery and the political incorrectness and become like, you remember in Fargo when the lady was the original movie, when the wife was sitting on the couch and she's knitting or doing something, drinking a cup of coffee and listening to this Minnesota Nice guy and gal bullshit morning show. And that's what I think Steel Toe should be like. Drop any, although April, man, like April, they were doing a story recently about a cow who won in a state fair, and the cow had a very offensive name for black people. Not the N word, it was the J word. Okay. And April seemed to think there was absolutely no problem with that. She's like, what? It's cute. Like, they probably didn't know. like really, it was weird, like justifying and sort of defending this cow's name. Now, how the fuck it got to the point where it won in a state fair with that name is beyond me. But the whole time they're acting like it's not a big deal to say the word, but Aaron only says it once. April says it not at all. So if it's not that big of a deal and it's cute, then what's wrong with saying it? Because really, who's going to cancel those two? How could you cancel them?
Yeah. So I think it's all part of the bigger discussion, and I know that we'll get into it. They like to pretend that they are much bigger than what they are. I think they're probably doing some free shows on Compound Media. I'm assuming that Kumi is not paying them there's not a Compound Media truck backing up and dropping money off in their front yard. I
don't think so. I was on Compound, and that's not the delivery system of the checks. Yeah, it doesn't happen that way. I think I'm tight with E-Rock, and E-Rock was, I don't know, I'm not sure still, but he was a Steel Toe fan, because Steel Toe, and you have to give him this, he does have a produced show, and that's what, regardless, I guess, of the content, that's what E-Rock was looking for. He wants to put a produced show in there, so that it's not just a bunch of comedians rapping to each other the whole time,
And so no matter what we say, it's not going to be enough for all the fucking people that wanted this to happen. But what I will say is I also got turned on to Steel Toe originally from Carl, went over and I checked them out, and I didn't hate them. I think I caught an episode after they had made their goal. So they didn't talk about money. It was just them talking about some news stories, and it was fine. I dug it. It wasn't bad. And then I went back and checked it out a week later or whatever when I had a minute, and they started, well, okay, this would be a good transition point. I'm going to play the clip of their show that summarizes it to me. We both listened to the episode right after they had their wildly successful live event. And all of the clip that summarizes the show, this is non-traditional WATP, is a supercut.
In terms of contributing to this listener-supported show. Streamlabs, PayPal, Venmo. Again, Streamlabs, PayPal, YouTube, Rumble. Streamlabs, PayPal, and Venmo, the three best ways. PayPal, Streamlabs, Venmo. Super Chats, membership, Streamlabs, PayPal, Rumble Rants over on PayPal. Streamlabs, PayPal, YouTube, Rumble. Streamlabs, PayPal, Venmo.
It is nonstop. That was from one episode.
I was just about to ask, is that just from the episode that you watched? But it's an odd business model, I feel. And even when I watched the same episode you did, and like I said, now this is the first time in WATP history that I'm like, I can't listen to this whole thing. It was dude, it was 2.5 hours. I got through the first hour and a half, maybe a little bit more. And then I was like, I gotta check out this. I cannot believe that people watch this shit day after day and then at night. And that Aaron and April have if I saw those numbers and I saw the money that was coming in, I'd be like, this is not worth it. I got to figure out something else. This is fucking crazy. I'm getting paid like minimum wage, if that.
Yeah, this isn't what success looks like.
No.
And I think it's interesting you use the phrase business model. That's the same as walking down the street and seeing somebody holding a tin cup saying, I don't know that I agree with your business model. Just sitting out here begging.
Well, they're close, because recently April has been rattling a collection plate. They're doing like a whole gospel thing, and April rattles the collection plate. And I'm like, April, I'm really like, I waffle. I'm not sure if I feel sorry for her and want to rescue her, or I'm like, this woman is a fucking bitch and gets what she deserves. Like there are many times. Is that is the second one?
Well, I don't know her well enough to know if she's a bitch or not, but I do believe that she's getting what she deserves. This is what's that syndrome where you start feeling sorry for your captors? Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome. Yeah.
She every once in a while, and there's some examples that we're going to play. She will call him out on his bullshit. And when she does that, it's like, okay, so she's not as bad as Aaron. But then she turns around and doubles down on the stupid shit that he says. It's, oh, no, she is a cunt. Forget it. Yeah.
And it could be a sign of her age because she is pretty young still. But it's funny to watch her go on Twitter or Reddit. And like on Reddit, I've seen posts where I'm like, look, I'm no Gene Dixon, but I'm going to go ahead and say this is definitely April because no one else would be this mad about people talking shit about Steel Toe. You know, like it's her voice. It's her. It almost has her inflection. You know,
there's a word that gets thrown around between all these people that argue amongst themselves, coping or keep coping and there was a thread that you sent over to me that, yes, it was her voice 100% in that Steel Toe Boring Show subreddit. Keep coping. It's like, okay, we know it's you. Take the fucking mask off.
Yeah, just say like, fuck you. This is what we're doing. Like, you know, when I used to look, and I can't even attribute this to my age, just my fucking ignorance and free time. But like when we first started our podcast back in like 2010 or so, like I went on and argued with people regularly. Oh, you don't like the show? Go fuck yourself. Blah, blah, blah. When we got the TV show, I argued with people. And one guy I threatened, you know, he was like, oh, you know, because of my hair. He's like, you know, this guy looks like Dumbledore fucked a mushroom. And I went on there and I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And it was only years later that I was like, you know what? He was right. Like the guy was right. My hair was totally fucked. I looked like Stuttering John at that point. Like I just stepped off the fucking Mayflower.
I'm letting it grow out. I'm in between right now.
Yeah.
All right, so as I talked about, Aaron got fired from the Minnesota radio gig he went on a long rant about the woman that got his job. I pulled a clip of it, and I will say, if you go listen to it, if you have my sense of humor, it's fucking funny.
This chick is toast. We're bullying today. King Kong Dong says, are you mad that a girl got chosen over you? Okay, no, but first of all, I'm upset that a girl was allowed on a morning radio show. Number two, yes! Heather has her own website and it has audio clips. Get in there and start bullying them on Facebook. Oh, she's got a website. Oh, she's got a website.
Yeah, he goes on for roughly, let's call it 5-10 minutes, wishing that the dogs that are in her car would eat her for lunch and making fun of her for being obese. It's fucking funny. I don't care. I think it's because he didn't have to spend any time thinking how he was going to throw out super chats and rumbles and PayPals and all that. So he was able to just go in and scream and holler.
Right. He's operating on pure emotion. He's not second guessing or thinking or being like, oh, what are the numbers or what's fucking the chat saying or any number of things.
Right.
He was pissed, but he definitely took a page out of those early, like the Opie Anthony shit. Like, we're going to bully her. We're going to call her. We're going to pretend she's racist. We're going to call her names. It's like, again, I've done shit that I look back and I'm like, why the fuck did I do that? But this is like next level. Like, start telling people that another person is racist, trying to ruin their reputation.
Yeah. But the other thing to keep in mind is he was probably talking to hundreds of people at the time. I have no idea what a Minnesota radio market is, but I can't imagine that there are people talking about it around the water cooler.
Right. It was like St. Cloud. I'm pretty sure they said it was like 12,000 people in the market, something like that. It was pretty low.
Okay, so as we talked about, we watched the episode immediately following their live event. They had a 9-year anniversary at some biker bar in, I think, Stoney's, yeah. They had Gino Bisconte and whatever his girlfriend's name is.
Keanu.
Yeah, Keanu. So they flew them out.
Kiki, if you're tight with her.
They flew them out to Stoney's and put them up, went golfing. Like, if you interactors, you pay attention on Twitter, you can see they documented everything of from when they came in to taking them golfing, cooking them breakfast, the whole fucking 9 yards. It was disgusting. The thing to keep in mind in all of this is on Gino's side, this was a financial transaction. This was a paid gig.
Now, do you think he got paid what they were claiming? Because I heard the number $4,000. That seems excessive.
I heard $4,000 a piece for
each of them.
Yeah,
no fucking way.
Well,
dude, no way.
So I can't imagine at $4,000 a piece. That's $8,000. The room holds, I think, 150 to 200 people. Let's say. I don't know how much the tickets were, but they said they sold out. It doesn't seem like there's enough money to do anything with.
Let's say tickets were even $50 each, and they weren't. So if it holds 200 people, that's what, 10,000?
Yeah.
Yeah. So cut that way the fuck down by I don't know, like 90%.
Cut that way the fuck down and divide it by 2, and then we're probably a little closer to.
Okay. And I am a Gino Bisconte friend. So anything I'm saying is these are just my feelings. I'm not going to bash Gino because I do enjoy Gino. I don't know Keanu. I don't know enough about her actually to bash her, but I did notice, like you were saying, like they documented every single moment of this get together, this outing. Why is it that, and April even mentions it. She's like, people get mad that we have friends, and she's right. I'm like, why do I begrudge the Steel Toes their capacity for happiness and friendship?
So I look at it differently. I don't give a shit who they're friends with or if they have friends. What I give a shit about is, okay, if I give you $10,000, Brian, will you come to Kansas and hang out with me for the day?
I sure will, friend.
Okay. And then if I get on Twitter and start talking about, I'm just hanging out with my best friend, Bryan, we're doing whatever it is that we do. I don't know. But it's fucking fake and phony, especially if I talk about it the week before that I just wired you $10,000.
Yeah. And also it was the first time they met. They're just hanging out. I feel that like Steel Toe, while being a dope, he does think ahead, and I think that he sees like a Gino, for whatever reason, he sees a Gino friendship as yet another, like just like making his way a little bit more into that compound door, since Anthony loves Gino so much.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And
I
think that's probably one of my issues with what I've picked up on Aaron is he is attempting to be methodical, not genuine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. Okay. We'll listen to a clip.
Okay. So, like I said, this is them talking about how successful their 9th anniversary live show was.
How many we have? About 170 by the time it was all said and done. Almost
52.
200. Oh, 52. About 200 people probably in and out, but comedy show about 170.
Okay. So he does this thing throughout the episode where how many people did we have? 170. All right, so we had a couple hundred people. So like I said, there were 300 people there. With 400 people, it's like that old joke, the old Jewish joke, can I borrow $10? Why do you need $5? That whole thing.
Right.
It's the reverse of that. So this, I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit in the episode, and this is them referring back to the number of people at the event.
My biggest thing about the people who hate our show is that I was one of two things was going to have to happen when they were confronted with this event. They were going to what they should have done is just shut up and take the L.
Yes, because otherwise they'd have to admit we had fun.
Don't even mention the L. Just move on from it. Don't talk about it. That would have been the smart thing to do. Now what they've had to do is watch other people talk about how fun it was, how many hundreds of people were there, what a big show it was, and they just have to go, no, and they have to lie to themselves.
All right. So here's my view of this live show, and we'll get through it jumping around in the clips, but there's 170 people there. They have Gino Bisconte there, which I believe Gino Bisconte is a well-known comedian. or at least a known comedian, right?
I think he's known in New York. I don't, again, much love to Gino, but I don't think he's a household name. And like, I know people who do cons for days on end, like 3 days. And I'm not talking like Z-listers. I'm talking about people with names, and they don't make $4,000 in those couple days.
You're still stuck up on that.
$4,000 in a night. Yeah. But times 2. Come on. Like, these people are scraping every day with the goal and shit. Like, the only way they paid him $8,000 is if David Chandler really ponied up and paid for everything.
So my thought was, okay, so if they had 170 people there, and so Gino Bisconte stand-up fans, Gino Bisconte in hot water fans, then the regular bikers that go, and then the locals that are familiar with steel toe. I think in and around that is probably pretty close to 150, 170 people. I don't think, what I'm getting at is, I don't think it was like a WATP event where you have people flying in from all over the country just to come to this.
Except for Gino and Keanu. Those are the only two. Yeah, I agree. And out of that 170, if you're going to break it down, the people that would be there on a Saturday night, was it? I can't remember what night it was, Friday or Saturday night, whatever. I think that would probably be high anyway, because it's a small town, it's a small area, it's a biker bar, it's where people go to hang out on the weekends anyway. So they're like, oh, there's an event. Oh yeah, that guy who does the radio thing or whatever, he's going to be here.
I don't.
Yeah. Oh, well, there's this guy. Called a woman obese once because he lost a job.
All right. Then
I do enjoy April, though, in that moment, though. She's like, one line that she says is, she's like, if they watched it or they saw it, then they would have to admit that we had fun. It's like, the last thing in the world I need in my life is to convince someone else that I had fun doing something. Like, who gives a fuck?
No. Nobody is questioning whether you had fun. Nobody gives a shit if you had fun. That's not what is up for debate. What is up for debate is, and they're the ones making this a debate because they spend the first hour of this episode talking about it. Had they talked about news stories and shit like that, then that's what clip I would have pulled.
Yeah, more stories about cows with offensive names.
Which, in all honesty, that's probably a story that we talk about on Who's Right. So I can't fault them for that.
No, definitely no. It wasn't the story to me. It was April's just like complete befuddlement of like, how are people offended by this? It's like, because it's 2023, dummy. That's how.
All right. So this is going on again. They're referencing how many people were at the event.
Girl says, I like crowding in, and only the top 200 being there is better. I mean, 300 people can still show up, and we did have hundreds of people there to party and hang out. But
so keep in mind, they started at 170. Now it's just common knowledge that they could have hundreds of people, or they had hundreds of people. And then I went back and looked through, I think this was April's Twitter post. It says, well, we have sold out every seat we can possibly cram in. Steel Toe always sells out. Anniversary show sold over a week in advance. Thank you all so much. In this clip I'm about to play, if you listen very closely, you can hear that he starts to say that they could go to a bigger venue that holds 200 and then he stops himself and decides to add that he could probably have fit another 50 to 100 people in at the fucking Tailpipe Tap or wherever the fuck it was that they were.
With $2 says, I want to be there next year if you don't suck by then. LOL07. Thank you, buddy. Wallsball says you need a bigger venue for the anniversary show.
I like it.
I like the fact, they say scarcity creates demand.
Yeah.
And I guess we could move it to like a 200. I mean, we sold it out a month and a half.
Well,
it was a month and a half in advance, or a week and a half in advance. I'm sorry. We probably could have gone to 250, maybe 300.
I think we could have.
I just like the idea of it filling up and the place being packed and loud. I like that atmosphere.
Not only that, I just like the idea of it being at Stoney's. I love what Cheetos does for us. I like that venue in general. And
see how she stopped herself right before saying venue? It's a biker bar in the middle of Minnesota. That is not a venue.
Yeah, that would not qualify as a venue. And if anybody lives near Stoney's, could they quick pop in and see what the maximum capacity for the venue is? I'm curious to know, because Aaron talking about, like, unless there were people standing outside waiting, then what do you mean you could pack in another? So you're saying you could have sold more tickets? It can't be that everybody there bought tickets. There's just no fucking way.
I would bet that
unless they were like $5.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking that the regulars that are there probably got some tickets. I don't fucking know.
They had to comp some people, because there's some people like, wait, I go to Stoney's every Saturday night now because this fucking man-boobed freak decides he wants to talk shit in front of a bunch of people. I have to pay money.
It is the only place within 30 miles of here, and you're going to make me pay $8 to come here and drink a beer?
Yeah, listen to the musings of a Gino Bisconte, who I noticed also with Aaron. Another thing he does with the compound people is he'll call him Bisconte, or he'll call him Cumia. Like, he has this familiarity with them that he's trying to breed.
Yeah, that's. I'm not smart enough to articulate why I hate this motherfucker now, but I do. and it's that shit. It's the posturing and the double talk, the gaslighting, all the.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I meant to adjust my posture. This is how I need to talk if I'm going to do the steel toe school of broadcasting. You always have to talk like totally to the side and talk like this.
All right.
I don't know.
So since we're talking about the people in the crowd, I got a couple clips here of them. So we're jumping now over to further ahead in the episode. They were going through all the pictures that April had taken, like a photo gallery. Like when you go on vacation, or your parents would go on vacation, they'd make you sit through the pictures because, like in my case, they wouldn't take me with them. So then you have to sit there and okay, here's where we were at the Grand Canyon. Here's where, so on and so forth. They're doing the same thing with all the pictures that April took on their show.
This guy, okay, so this guy drove from Wisconsin as an In Hot Water fan. We had a lot of Floridians, different states.
Ohioans, yeah.
Illinoisans.
Seattleans,
who made the trip out, made the pilgrimage to the anniversary show. Mm-hmm. It was awesome to have them. But this guy was awesome. He was he's a big In Hot Water fan, 2 hours away in Wisconsin. And he was like Gino's hype man all night.
Not only that, he has a In Hot Water tattoo on his chest from when Aaron Berg was still around. And he is the one who gave Gino the infamous blazer that he...
So I cut that off early. I meant to trim that up. But all I was getting at is, okay, now if we're putting together a murder board of the people that were at this event, we know for sure there was a certain part of the population that came specifically to watch Gino.
Yeah. And 2 hours with an In Hot Water tattoo on his chest. That's like shoot Dimebag Daryl type shit, you know? That's a guy you don't want in your crowd.
So I'm not pro Bisconte or anti Bisconte, other than when he ruined my appearance on WATP talking about the writer's strike. That's the only grudge I've got against him. But I would not want anybody near me that has a In Hot Water tattoo.
You know, I used to feel that way until I saw several Tell 'em Steve Dave tattoos, and then you talk to the people and you're like I used to have a Calvin and Hobbes tattoo on my back, and I'm like, well, I guess it's not that different. You know, I mean, on a personal level, I find it weird, but if they're that into the show, I'm like, I get it, I guess. But then again, Calvin and Hobbes aren't real people, so maybe I don't get it.
We have Who's Right has a listener that recently got our logo tattooed on their ass.
Oh yeah,
and yeah,
I hope it's a girl.
No,
damn,
no, it is a pudgy guy, and I don't want him around. Like I wouldn't allow him near me. No. Fuck that.
How are you going to see the tattoo? Picture, I guess.
Picture, yeah.
Was it a bet? Why the placement's interesting?
He wanted a tattoo, and that was it.
Gino also, I didn't see any pictures of this. I saw a lot of pictures of April and Keanu looking cute, doing the peace sign pictures, all that. I did not see any photos of Gino's vomitus all over Steel Toe Estates. Because from what I understand, Gino got very drunk very drunk and very sick and puked up all over Steel Toe's home.
That's awesome. I hope he pissed their bed too.
Oh, it would be great. Yeah. And anything he could leave behind, any kind of DNA matter would be great.
All right. This is them going on talking about a black guy that was at their show.
Bubba, the black guy there is going, fucking say it. You, God damn it, you do it. I'm like, no, I don't want. He's doing the Samuel L. Jackson thing.
So I graduated with Bubba, and him and I were going back and forth all night.
So yet another part of the population that is just people they went to fucking high school with.
Yeah. Yeah, like they know almost everyone personally who's at their show.
Yeah. So
This is some fucking podcast. Like, you have to almost admire the balls or pity the obliviousness that he would leave radio and go and do this and drag his wife into it. Well, his girlfriend at the time, drag his girlfriend into it, who has no experience broadcasting. But there are many times where I'm like, she's funnier than he is.
No
like
doubt.
when April's going to be funny, she'll like look to the side and she like talks out the side of her mouth when she's got a little bomb to drop on him. And most of the bombs, I have to say, are about Aaron being gay.
or a liar.
Gay or a liar. Yeah. Like she calls him out when he says something that isn't true. My wife does that. I fucking can't stand it. It's like you fudge a number here or there, and then she's right there to be like a fucking accountant or something.
Yeah. So I've got an example of that. This is, so I didn't pull this off of this episode. This is from the Steel Toe Boring Show subreddit. This looks like it was posted by Maznak too.
You want to hear a noble gentleman thing I did? I was hanging out at this house. My friends and I would all hang out at this house in St. Cloud that was all girls. And they were all pretty good looking.
Wow.
Like to varying degrees.
Okay.
And I would just kind of I would have taken it from any one of them that, threw a little, stupid, gross, drunk pussy at me. But one of them, I was, it was going pretty well on a Saturday night. And then on Sunday, they called me and said, hey, do you want to come out and go watch the football games at MC's or whatever?
Sounds good.
And I'm thinking, it's going to be a group of us, whatever. We'll see. I'm like, all right, you know what? Fine. It was just her and I. She wanted to go watch the football games with your boy. Well, the problem is your boy, back then, 21, or I think I was 21, didn't pick up on, signs that a girl would give you.
She's not going to invite just you out somewhere, dummy.
Aaron didn't get that.
That's the first glaring, runway lights sign.
By the time Aaron realized that this young lady maybe wanted to find out the way my dick tastes, I had let her get far too intoxicated.
Oh, did she puke on you?
No.
That's I've been there before. Some guy puked on me.
We
once.
went to her room, and I listen to what a gentleman I am. I realized she was in no state to do anything, and that I could have ended up with some kind of problem on my hands. Some kind of problem on my hands. I put her in the bed.
He just stared at her a little bit.
No,
he's fondling. Again, I could,
I didn't realize that the two of us had something going there. And
did you finger your butt a little bit?
No, listen, we both got too drunk. I couldn't pull it back. By the time I knew something was going on, I couldn't reel it in. And so I go to bed, and when I wake up, I slept on like a beanbag chair thing in her room.
I was going to say, you could have just laid next to her. You've both got clothes on.
But when I woke up in the morning, she had a giant piss stain all over the bed. She pissed herself. She was so shit-faced.
Oh, my God.
And did I get another chance at it? No, because after that, she said, I have to quit drinking. It's becoming a problem. So this woman...
Well, I'm having a problem with this story.
Okay.
I very much feel like I've been told this exact same story by your best friend.
What do you mean?
Like it happened to him, but it's the identical story. I'm just now realizing.
The Tinder date woman?
No. I feel like you two are sharing a story now.
Which story?
The one you're telling.
No, this is my story. He was nowhere near.
Sure?
He was nowhere near this story. No, wait,
Seems
hold on.
strange.
Which friend? No.
I know about the other Tinder one.
No, he didn't hang out with this group of people. No, this was
sus.
This was a totally different group of people. But
wow.
I apologize for the length of that, but I thought it was worth it just for him to come in at the end.
There was a moment where I was like, this has to be going somewhere, and then it's just like he slowly talks himself into a corner, and she won't let up. She's got him, and she's shaking him now. April might be the hero we didn't know we needed.
Yeah, I think she could, if she was to get away from him, or even if they were to just get away from this style of show, they could probably do something. Like, they have to go somewhere else on the internet because everybody fucking hates him now.
Yeah.
I when I found out that we were going to do this, I put some feelers out there, people that I know that dislike them, and asked for some help digging up some of these clips and shit. The shit that people sent me is fucking mind-blowing. Like fucking divorce papers and shit. Like,
oh yeah.
I don't want any of that shit. Like, I just want him talking about how good of a broadcaster he is. That's all I care about. I don't care about all his personal shit.
There's a thread. I sent it to you. You didn't have time to watch it because I'm giving you up to the minute updates on Steel Toe and shit. And somebody had posted something about his proposal, and you watch it and you're just like, this is. It's at the Steel Toe Boring Show. If you want to go check it out, it's today. What's today's date? The 20th. So you'd have to go back to the 20th. It's really a fascinating insight to the way he operates. Like there's a moment where I'll spoil it a little bit. He's proposing, and he has two of his kids bring the ring to her, and April's all choked up and stuff, and they're like, you're going to marry my dad, and you can never leave us. And I was like, but there's no hint of like, oh my God, that's horrible, that she says it and she acts like it's something to be choked up about or to, get the feels about. And it's like, well, what about the mom? What about the real mom? Do they think that the dad left her? Like, I couldn't figure it out. Like, did they think that Steel Toe left or Ashley LaRue left? I don't know.
Daddy thinks you're dumb enough to stay around for a while. Will you be our new mommy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. You wonder, man. You wonder, like, what was it? Like, what was Steel Toe's game? Did she think he was more famous than he was? Was she just impressed with that he was, like, on the radio at all?
No,
because there are rumors that she had stepped out on her former boyfriend or possibly fiance. I'm not even sure what he was.
And honestly, I don't really even give a shit about any of that. All I know is if she's happy listening to him talk about how popular he is, good for her. Like, have fun with it. I'm not questioning how much fun she's having. I want to make that clear.
Yeah, we admit it. We admit it. She was having fun.
I think that I got another example here of her kind of fucking up his story. So here's the setup.
What we're finding out about me is that we overplay on the show how fat I am. We overplay how big my tits are. And we underplay how gigantic my hands are and how badly I could mangle any of you who step out of line.
All right. So we just established that he's a fucking badass.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So here's a story of him talking about a fight he was in. This is also from the subreddit Toucan Sam. Thank you for posting this.
I think the last time I heard you freestyle, you were getting choked out at a wedding.
And that wasn't even freestyling. That was just like when John Cena would freestyle and he'd just talk and like in rhymes.
Yeah.
It was more like a John Cena promo freestyle. Well, yeah, they wanted me to do that to one of my buddies.
Your buddy.
Yeah, because we were just kind of busting each other's balls, and they were like, oh, freestyle battle, freestyle, and we're fucked up at a wedding. So I start talking shit about him in rhyming fashion, and it was so painful, I'm sure, if you were the other people, because he had nothing.
It was pretty sad.
And I would just sit there and wait for him, and then I'd go, all right, never mind, I got another one. And then when I stood up after that, he got up, came up behind me, and started choking me. Just put his arm around me and started choking the shit out of me. And I remember my first thought as he choked me was, you're at your friend's wedding, don't do anything.
Yeah.
Like, don't retaliate. This is your butt. Like, even in that moment, I kind of, there was that feeling of I'm not really in any danger. It's like when somebody at a bar like pushes you, you're like, okay, there's no danger here.
There was also enough people around.
Yeah, and that's kind of my thinking. I was like, you're at your buddy's wedding. And I had the wherewithal, as drunk as I was, to think this. I went, you look really good right now. He looks really shitty right now. Put your arms out. Don't do anything.
Flail.
Go to the ground. You'll look great. He'll look like a piece of shit.
Yep.
And that's what I did. And that's
happened.
how it worked out. It was everyone coming up to me going, "Are you all right? He's fucking crazy." Like, what
The nerve
hell?
of that guy.
The nerve of that fucking asshole. I'm like, yeah, what do you do? You know,
It's a weird-
He's a
So I've been in my share of altercations. It was a big part of me growing up. And there are times when I found myself in the same position where my arms were flailing and I was being either gently laid on the ground or thrown somewhere and then ending up on the ground. And not one of those times was it I had the wherewithal to curl up in the fetal position and protect it.
My wife and I have this cute little thing where she's unsuspecting. I'll come up behind her and like throw my arm around her and choke her out real fast. And I won't throw her on the ground, but I'll lay her down all gently and shit. And if she's on to me, she does the same thing Aaron just described. Instead of trying to fight back, yeah, she just put her arms out and just like sink to the ground so I can't get her. Yeah, Aaron, there was another clip on. I feel like it's all Toucan Sam that puts these up. He's amazing with his clips. But there was a clip on Reddit where Aaron was saying that he would train April for boxing. She was talking about boxing and shit. And he said he would train her. And I'm thinking, like, if I'm going to get a boxing trainer, I definitely don't want it to be a guy who got knocked out in under 10 seconds by another dude.
Yeah.
You know, and then it gave me an even further idea. What about a fetish video starring April called Training April? And it's like Chad. Like Chad's the star because he's the guy. He could be the disciplinarian. And then April's the sub. Because she's eventually going to have to do OnlyFans, right? I mean, there's no doubt about it.
I would say that the money is, if you're going to bet on it, yes. At some point, either she's got to go back to the factory or start an OnlyFans. That's what it's going to boil down to.
Right. Did she really work at a factory? It was a factory, right? Do you know what she did there?
I have to assume she was a smelly welder.
Smelly welder, yeah. She definitely is more like, she has more machismo than Aaron does. Like she's out there fishing and hunting and putting roofs on and all kinds of shit. Like she and her dad are roofing while Aaron sits downstairs fucking massaging nipple cream into his fucking tits.
So I just said I don't want to talk about their personal lives, but do you know, I would like to talk to her father to find out what his opinion is of his son-in-law. That's what I want to know.
Dude, how disappointed are you? Because everyone, like, especially, that's the tough thing with small towns like that too, is like, if you start, like, you know, you hear about these young girls, it's like they were great in their school play, or they were so pretty that they were a model, and they go out to Hollywood, and then sure, in their small town, it's like, oh my God, you're a fucking 10. But out in LA, you're like more like a 5 to 6, that kind of shit.
I think they call that shop hot, right?
What do they call it?
Shop hot?
Shop, yes. Yeah, so I don't know, man. Poor April. Poor April.
No, she said yes. She volunteered for this shit.
She did say yes, but is it her age? Was she just blinded by a guy who she thought was famous? And then, like I said, it's like, you know, you're in a small town, so everybody's expecting big things from you. And so when, you know, you're out there doing radio and you start calling people fat and saying they don't like black people, and you have to return. I mean, it's not like April's dad didn't know about that. So, although the other day, Steel Toe was saying that April grew up, when they were talking about that cow, they were talking about how April grew up in an extremely racist town. So it carried over a little bit. I don't know.
I'm sure it did. And I'm sure maybe if she grew up in an extremely racist town, it was an extremely poor town, and she is big time now. Maybe this is her version of big time. Maybe
it could be. Steel Toe, I talked a little bit of shit about him. I can't even remember what show it was on. It might have been WATP, but Steel Toe said that given the same circumstances as me, Bryan Johnson, he would have run that football much farther than I did, He would have done much more with the relationship to Kevin Smith than I did. And that's when I knew Steel Toe was 100% a piece of shit, because Kevin Smith was always my friend first.
Right.
I didn't think like, well, what position can I attain? What can I do? Where can I go with my association with Kevin? It's like, sure, things came from it. Absolutely. But like that never was, because maybe I would have done more, but he was always my friend first. So I just don't understand, like, what would Steel Toe have done? And I'm sorry, dude, but you're in the middle of fucking Minnesota in some fucking small town going to the Stonies venue for your 9th anniversary show. It's like, I live in a real state. You know, I live in New Jersey.
All right, so I'm right in the middle of Kansas, so yeah, fuck New Jersey.
I actually like Minnesota a lot. We went out there to do Mallrats. It was beautiful. It was really nice out there.
Oh, with your friend Kevin Smith. You wouldn't have been in that movie if it wasn't for your friend Kevin Smith.
You know what? You're 100% right.
It's such a fucked up mentality, and it's again, it's just, I'm not smart enough to articulate it, but what you just said, that's all to him, everybody is a pawn. What can he get out of the relationship with this person? And when he realizes that he can't get anything, then he just turns on him. And it'll happen with his best friend Bisconte. It'll happen with April. Hopefully it happens with Carl, and Carl can distance himself, but who am I?
Yeah, Carl got himself into a bad position where it's like he got too friendly with him, so he can't turn around and then shit on Steel Toe. And also, like you said earlier today, I feel like if Carl did it, it would never be good enough for anybody. You know, like, as hard as Carl goes after some people, if he went equally as hard at Steel Toe, that wouldn't be enough. The expectation would be like, kill him, murder him.
Yeah, and these, again, I want to get back to the clips, but these fucking people that want you to dox and make it personal, go after exes and all that, divorce papers, that's fucking mind-blowing to me. Like, stop doing that. There's plenty of shit on this show for 5 people to have full-time jobs just pulling clips and talking shit. You don't have to go anywhere outside of the show.
Dude, the 4-minute proposal clip that Toucan put up, I'm like, that's enough to get through 20 minutes of show. You don't, I couldn't agree with you more. Like when Chad was talking about docs in Cardiff, and this one's going to dox this one, and this one's going to go after Gina Levy and all this other shit. It's just like, enough with the fucking, like, leave everybody's families out of it. Like, they're not a part of it. Like, have some level of fucking respect.
Oh, right. Fuck. Okay. I'm going to go back to when they are watching. They're in this clip. They're now watching Anthony Cumia, a clip from his show where he's got Christy Mayer on, and they're looking at pictures of the live event and discussing it. The picture that's up on the screen is a picture of Keanu and Gino and April and Aaron. And I want you to pay very close attention to April's comment at the end of the clip.
It must be nice to have friends.
Imagine just following another comedian's social media so closely that you like know what they're doing all the time.
Know what they're doing, and you can't possibly.
Oh yeah.
Like, that looks fine.
I love Anthony's take on it, because that was my take on the Zumach thing. Was like, Gino was like, why the fuck would he write that? I'm like, I know. It makes him look retarded. It makes him look like he doesn't know what friends do.
Look at this.
And it makes him look like he doesn't have any friends.
This is all of my favorite people, all my favorite talents in one picture.
So
speechless.
I heard that and I got those chills. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're looking at a picture of you and your husband, and then the 2 people that you paid to come entertain your fans, and your first thought is, this is my 4 favorite talented people. You're fucking weird.
Yeah, I mean, then you don't know that many other people. If like, look, my I don't even think I'd cut the top 100 if my wife was like, "Who are your top favorite entertainers?" I don't think I would make it in there, let alone April. And again, it's like, you fucking just met them. Literally, that when they came out for the show, that was the first time they met. How can these be your favorite people already? Your favorite personalities or entertainers or whatever she said.
Well, I'm gonna kind of go out of order here, but I'm gonna wrap that part of it up for now of how close they are.
I figured those two would come here. They'd be very polite, kind, funny, but like there's not a close connection there. And then they show up and he's pretty much just like you. She's pretty much just like me. We all got along famously. And I just feel like I have friends now that are just all the way across the country and I got to see them more.
I don't know you can afford that.
Yeah.
They're pricey.
Yeah, you blew all your money flying them out the first time. You probably could have gotten out to see them a few times. Well, I'm sure April is also like, I would love to see New York. You know, I mean, I don't know why, but
maybe Gino can pay us $15,000 and fly us out to New York and hang out with him.
yeah, everything just keeps increasing exponentially. Yeah, yeah, because they when they do the compound thing, they don't go to New York. So I don't know that they've ever actually been in studio. I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't have I don't track them on their phones. So they may have gone to New York already. But I feel like April's settling. It's just purely my thoughts. Is that April's settling because it's like, well, what else am I gonna do? She, for whatever reason, they think that an association with Compound is going to rocket them into the stratosphere of broadcasting, which from personal experience, I can tell you it does not, working at Compound. And if I'm not mistaken, Anthony is moving to South Carolina. I don't even know how much longer Anthony will be there. So it's like, I mean, if this was, again, like the Vice special, if this was the year 2000 and you were going to get on, you were doing something with Anthony, that would mean a fuck ton. But these days it's like,
And not only that, getting on Anthony's show would give you exposure, but all that does is expose you and your fraudulent activities to a larger group of people.
Yeah.
Just because you're exposed to them doesn't mean that they're going to hang out with you.
Yeah, and even if they did get a show on Compound, it's like I sincerely doubt it's paying enough for them to, if they're meeting that goal every day, whatever their goal is it 150 or something, 150 a day?
I thought it was like 350, but
oh wow,
what I don't understand about their goal, because I quit trying to keep up with them, like I said, months and months ago, but if they're always hitting their goal, and if they exceed their goal, it rolls over to the next show. Wouldn't they end up having a free show at some point where there is no goal because they've surpassed it?
If they were doing things fairly and saying and being appreciative, sure.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think, being appreciative doesn't pay the bills. I think they're like, fuck that shit. We need to fucking keep on doing it. It's anxiety inducing. I don't like it. Like if that were how I made money, like I'm like every day I have to hope that today isn't the day that en masse super chatters are like, fuck it. I just don't feel like giving more money, Even with Patreon, you have that. People dip out all the time on Patreon,
Oh, yeah. That back before they changed their billing cycle, you used to have that drop at after the first of every month. It's like, oh, okay, nobody likes me anymore.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. So the daily grifting, to me, the daily can rattling, it would be too much. I wouldn't have the stomach for it. So either stronger, they have more fortitude than I do, or they're just more delusional than I am and think that it can keep up forever. Even like MLC, you watch MLC, and in the a couple months ago, in the heyday of those super chats, you're like, what the fuck? This guy's cleaning up, Kevin Brennan. But then after you watch a while, you're like, it's the same shit. It has to dry up after a little while, and I believe that's what's happening now. Is it's like you can only yell so much about Ray DeVito or Chad or Barry Ribbs or Mike Bichetti or fucking Ski Mask. It's
there is something to be said though about someone's will to not have a real job, and that can drive a lot of behavior.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I know.
All right. So apparently Aaron fancied himself a stand-up comedian.
Yes, he wears a shirt. I couldn't figure this out, where he wears a shirt frequently that says hack comedian. And I agree with the first part, but the second part, the comedian part, I'm like, I wasn't like, because what he does, like I do a comedic podcast. I still don't consider myself a comedian. So unless he does stand up or has done stand up, I didn't understand the shirt. So you're telling me he does do stand up or has?
I seem to remember a video of him doing stand up and getting booed off the stage. I could be all wet on this, but that's what I remember.
Right.
But this is him talking about his career as a stand up comedian.
Paul R. Nelson says, I want to hear your stand-up. It's not really stand-up. I kind of host the show. I keep it moving. I do some crowd work with the audience. I fuck around. I do some impressions and some bits.
It's just fun.
I kind of retired from stand-up a while ago because I didn't want to write jokes. I'm too lazy to write jokes. Plus, I get to perform in front of hundreds of my own fans. They eat up whatever I do. Well,
it's fan service almost.
Who wouldn't want it that easy? The only people who think, who don't like that or look down on it are people who don't get to do it and they're jealous.
This just came to me, but did you notice how often April tries jumping in and adding and he just steamrolls over her?
It's like she's not even there. I did notice that, yeah. You also, like, anytime somebody isn't funny and doesn't have the ability to write stuff, they always say they're too lazy to do it. Like, that seems to be the easy out. Oh, I'm just too lazy to do it. It's like, no, you can't do it. Otherwise you would do it. Because where's this Aaron that's going to fucking exploit every single avenue that Kevin Smith would provide, like if you're that funny and you can go do stand up, then why wouldn't you do that as well?
I'm too lazy.
Yeah, just too lazy, I guess.
I have no problem with waking up at 5:30 in the morning and getting my tin cup and begging for money for 4 hours.
4 days a week, and then at night too, right? Like a Sunday night or something.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I wouldn't have that much to talk about, man. I would bore. I mean, he does, but I'm like, I feel like I would bore the fuck out of people. You're asking me to talk 20 hours a week?
Oh, so this is perfect segue. So I put together a supercut because he claims to be a professional broadcaster. Now, I am not a professional podcaster or a professional broadcaster. I'm not a professional anything. Okay. So I have crutch words. I'm not good at this. I get it. I don't give a fuck. I do the best that I can. I don't get on here and start telling everybody how good I am, which is what he does, which is why everybody hates him. So I put together a supercut of his crutch words. I believe this is all from one episode. I believe this to be the longest supercut in WATP history. So I'm going to be watching you for guidance. I want you to throw your hands up when you've had enough. Right. Because it goes and goes and goes.
A guy like me who kind of takes people at face value and kind of knows the game and is a professional broadcaster.
There's 2 minutes left.
Okay, I got it. I'm good. Yeah.
All right.
I heard an April in there.
Yeah,
even April got one in. Yeah, I can't come down on him too hard for that because, like, when I'm cutting our show, there's a lot of ums that I pull out. I have that crutch
fine,
yeah.
But you don't get on and just spend a half hour talking about how good of a fucking broadcaster you are.
No, I don't even think I've ever spent half a minute talking about it. You can't be in this business or game or whatever the fuck you want to call it and act like you're infallible, because and that was like one of my problems with Shuli when I went after Shuli is I'm like, the things that Shuli goes after John for are things that have also happened to Shuli. Green screen accidents, boogers in the mustache, this, that. And when I did go after, I went head to head with Shuli, and hopefully steel toe people aren't going to come after me the way Shuli's Anonymous did. I'm a Shuli ball washer. I suck Shuli's dick, all because I didn't come out and assassinate him like, say, a Kevin Brennan would do, or something. Like, I don't hate Shuli. I never hated Shuli. Like, that's what people don't get is like, look, like steel toe. It's like, you can't hate them. You don't even know them. But like, as people, but you can get a pretty good idea of what they're like, and you can have a pretty intense dislike for them. But like, on a personal level, to hate somebody, I mean, they have to really do something to me that I'm like, I want this motherfucker dead. Steel Toe and company, I'm like, it would just be cool if they just went away, did something else.
Yeah.
Stop bothering everybody.
I would be 100% fake. You know, like if I was to say, I would be happy if they just quit showing up on my feed. You know what the first step to that is? Unfollowing them.
It's hard though, isn't it? Because you always want to see what Steel Toe's saying next. He's so dumb. You know?
Yeah, I never said I was smart, right? All right. So this is them getting into why they don't have their own streaming platform, which I'm sure you thought that's where I was going to go next.
Aaron's period pill says, Aaron, just start your own streaming platform and then you can do whatever the fuck you want. And I'm sure 2,000 of you would come along and, you know, maybe do $10 a month. I don't know. I'm sure you would.
Isn't that the dream?
Here's my problem. I'm only 36. This is relatively very early in my career.
You're a spring chicken.
And I'm only on, I'm on broadcasting probation right now. So we're really kind of operating with a hand tied behind our back. And big things growth-wise are starting to happen for us now. We're starting to venture into some stuff that we haven't been able to venture into in a while. And so I don't want to limit our show's growth by just starting our own platform.
What?
Hold on. Damn it. This is so not going to be worth it. There we go.
Wait, what?
I'm telling you, I've got to publicly give Carl and Chris credit, man. This is hard.
Yeah, if you are not on Patreon, on Carl's Patreon, it's crazy because they always say in the beginning, 2 bonus episodes per month, I think he says, but it's so much more than that. Like I spend $10 a month, and I'm like, this is easily the best $10 a month I spend on WATP Patreon. It's like there's so much content. Now you got who are these socials and who are these broadcasters. All kinds of shit. Sucking Carl's dick a little bit. Carl Ballwasher is
Carl
what I am.
Ballwasher. I was just going to say it. So let's see what else we got. I've only got, I think, a couple more.
All right.
Are you familiar with their coffee company?
I am. I know that they're one of these people that, and they're not alone with this kind of shit. I've always been curious about this because we make merchandise. Tell them Steve Dave makes merchandise, but it's not like branded merchandise. Like we don't do coffee or hot sauce, and it seems like all these podcasters are subtly very into coffee and hot sauce and these types of things that it's very easy to just buy something and slap your name on it.
Yeah. So here's an example.
April's
of them
Magic Bean, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So says, I got my Steel Toe coffee yesterday and really enjoying it this morning. Thank you, Camel Toe. By the way, if you guys, if the mods want to post the link, crescentmountcoffee.myshopify.com. Remember, there is a whole bean option now. Did hear from our supplier today that April's Magic Bean is looking to be debuted in July.
Nobody talks to me.
Jesus, calm down.
What is April's Magic Bean going to be?
Okay, so a couple things on that. One, she has no input into anything that happens. She's what, the GM of Steel Toe Incorporated or whatever?
Yes, yeah, that's her title.
And the second thing is, he said he was talking to his supplier, which it's a white label coffee company, and it's not even his white label coffee company. So it's somebody else. And they're just throwing their label on their coffee.
Yeah, Melton did a deep dive into the whole coffee thing.
Yeah,
and it didn't even really need to be that deep because pretty much what we just said was like, white label coffee doesn't have his name on it. And if April's Magic Bean was supposed to debut in July, have we seen it yet?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But I do know that this segment is brought to you by ArizonaBayCoffee.com. A subsidiary of the Who's Right podcast. Check out a couple of their roasts like Gun Barrel Butt Sex and Big Black Cocks. That's Arizona Bay Coffee, the coffee that your dreams dream of.
ArizonaBayCoffee.com, the coffee that your dreams dream of.
Who's Right also has their own white label coffee.
I'm just thinking about this right now. I'm like, maybe it's because I don't like coffee or hot sauce, but if there was something that I actually liked, maybe I could go white label on that, like maybe some like beard oil or something like that. I bought a whole bunch of oils one time. I tried to make my own proprietary concoction. It all smelled like shit. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna buy the regular stuff.
Yeah, so we did that with steak seasoning. And it was Anthony. He's real big into that. He's got access to a commercial kitchen and went through everything, I was working on the labels, he was working on the recipe, and he was actually going to make the batches. We would have had to have sold it for like $35 for a little bit of... So we bailed on it and went with coffee, because then you just put in some money and somebody will throw a label on your coffee and send it out for you.
Right. Oh, it's that simple. You don't have to send it out yourself or anything?
No, we don't.
That's nice.
We don't actually ever see anything other than the money.
That's a way to fucking do it. I keep hitting my arm with this fucking awesome scrimp hat that Patrick Melton sent me.
All right.
See, I had other notes about Aaron and April. Let's see. I said April needs to finish her sleeve. That one tattoo. I don't like it.
Just take that, work with it.
Yeah. Yeah, just add some more stuff, like, because she's hot enough. That's the thing about April. Like, I know people like to tease her about her forehead and all that shit, but like, she's good looking enough that like she would look pretty fucking cute with like a full sleeve, I believe.
Yeah, so
and this is me. Look, I know. I'm looking at myself right now. I'm looking directly at myself. So I know what I look like. So judging April's looks, that's just the way the world works.
There's math that goes into the looks. It's not a simple 1 through 10 scale, right? So you have your 1 through 10, and then you have to start, there's deductions or additions. In her case, it's deductions, right? So you take her who she is associated with. There's some, she loses some points.
Definitely.
Some of the dumb shit that comes out of her mouth loses a couple more points. And just her attitude in general, she's getting as bad as he is with my best friend Biscante or whatever the fuck she's talking about. And she's getting down there pretty fucking low.
Yeah, she's supportive, and it's like, it's something everybody would want in a wife, to be supportive, but she seems to be blindly supportive. And that's something you definitely don't want.
Yeah, that if you think about,
unless she's calling him on stories and shit, that's pretty funny.
Right. That's what I was going to say. When he was talking, there was something about him, those two talking about their sex life, and she's like, well, I don't come every time. And that got a lot of traction. And that's because she was being genuine for a minute.
She was being genuine, and he turned it into something about himself where he's going to take a bunch of shit because he never makes her come and all this other stuff. You couple that with like her constantly calling him gay. And I mean, in the one episode I watched, it was repeated that he's gay or he's effeminate or he's this or that. And at one point he calls her a pig. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
So I would watch that all the time, just what their conversations are over the dining room table.
Yeah.
Because she's just belittling the shit out of him.
Yeah, you don't want to hear them agree. I think that's it. You don't want to hear them agree. You want to see shit like him being like, oh man, I almost got. And why are you telling your wife this story about how you almost got some ass, and then describe yourself as a noble gentleman because you didn't rape someone? like, what the fuck?
I would have liked to have seen, back when she was working in the shop, her coming in after a 12-hour shift in the heat, and he's editing his fucking shorts or whatever he's doing, talking about how hard his day was at work and asking her when dinner's going to be done. That would have been funny to watch.
Yeah. They should do IRL, that thing that Lisa Jordan is doing now, where they just stream themselves 24 hours a day, regardless of what they're doing.
So they have a rule. I don't know if it's still in play. It's referenced here, where they get pissed off if the chat talks to each other.
Yes.
Okay.
RGZ Mac, calm the fuck down. I've had it. I'm tired of finishing a story, going to talk to my audience, and you're yelling and bitching about something that I got your back on. Enough. Last warning. There. I go and we do a story and we have a lot of fun.
Sounds it.
And then I go, hey, let's go talk to everybody. And the first thing I see is RGZ Mac fucking bitching about something that we were nice to you about. He's going back to the Twitch days. You guys get the contract. If he fucking doesn't apologize.
Who's apologizing to who here?
RGZ Mac is apologizing to me and the chat for interrupting after we said it's okay. Apologize for being a cunt after we got your back, and then fucking be a grown man.
We used to have a no crosstalk rule. We haven't enforced that for a long time, but you're supposed to be interacting with the show.
Fucking
host.
chill, dude.
But how can they interact? So they're only supposed to comment on things that Aaron and April say?
Yes.
Oh my fucking God. Like, that's the beauty of the chat, is that it builds a community. Okay, one guy's bitching about something, but it's like everybody else. Like, I get if you're going to ban people who are like anti-steel toe, going in there to troll you, say you suck or whatever. But to have crosstalk within the chat band is like, how dictatorial are you guys?
Or what, egotistical, I think, is probably the right word.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to talk about anything other than me.
Other than steel toe for the next however long we're going to be on. God forbid they go into overtime.
I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
No.
If I was to stop my show every time I seen in the chat that somebody was calling me a fat fuck or something, like the show would just never end. And those are people that like our show.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't do anything like that live stuff, so we don't have chat. Like, all I know is that our Reddit exists, and I never go to it because I can only imagine they're saying the same shit about me and Q and Walt that they're saying about Steel Toe, they're saying about April, they're saying about you, they're saying about Carl.
I want to thank Ram Jamma 69 for that clip. I'm trying to give credit to everybody that all the shit that I stole from the subreddits. I reached out to Patrick Melton trying to get some help from him, and he wouldn't respond. So
wouldn't respond, huh?
No.
Patty Bell, what's up with that guy?
I'm not on the. I'm not far enough on the radar, I think. Oh
wow.
So I hate to do this to you, but I put a lot of work into getting all this shit together. So we're going to go through it. I don't care if he uses it, whatever. But
oh yeah, for sure.
I am tired of hearing this man's voice as much as you are, but I'm playing these fucking clips. All right, this is an example. This was also, again, from the subreddit, Victim Bell. It's an example of Aaron doing what he does, which is, I just put beating a dead horse.
She knows that I can sing, and the biggest thing about me is that I always sing.
Your stomach?
I was like, pause.
Hold on.
And the biggest thing about me is that...
Is my blood pressure?
And the biggest thing about me
is my order at a restaurant? I don't.
She's giving him nothing. I love it.
Yeah.
The biggest thing about me
is my glucose levels?
She knows that I can sing. And
wasn't that blood sugar?
The biggest thing about me
is my cup
blood
size?
And the biggest thing about me is that...
What's on the scale?
So it's just a number of fat jokes.
Grocery bill?
Yeah,
right.
and
I'm assuming the lady's fat.
and none of them are any good.
No.
But I guess it's that. Okay, you know the old saying, you throw shit at the wall and see what sticks? You're not supposed to throw it one at a time, like one turd at a time.
Right. Yeah, he's just like, that's the thing. It's like, he's not a funny guy. This is, again, some people I'm sure sit there and laugh hysterically. There must be a reason Chandler bails him out with the goal and shit, unless he's just psychotic and loves to give money to strangers. So some people must enjoy it. I just can't figure out why or how.
You know what? I don't know if I can set this up in the amount of time that we have, but I have an acquaintance who is a big fan of Steel Toe. I could get him on, and he could, if you want to have him try to defend.
I would love to find out why. Yes, I think it's not a bad thing to give a couple minutes to a Steel Toe defender, or maybe they'll turn this around. Who knows?
All right, give me 1 second. You know what? I'm going to play another clip, and while I'm doing that, I'll send that message. This is in reference to John talking shit. I'm sorry, Aaron talking shit about Stuttering John's kid. And
Patrick says, I mean, you all made fun of Stuttering John's kids. Incorrect. I never did. I would never. I think that's gross. I know every time anyone ever brought up that Stuttering John has a trans kid, I said, that ain't none of anybody's fucking business. See, because your kid became trans, probably because you're a shitty dad. Well, if Anthony can say it, I can say it.
And it's that same shit. He thinks he's in that same league. He's not even playing the same fucking sport.
One of the notes I wrote down, I was like, Aaron's problem isn't wanting to be someone. He wants to be something, which is funny, interesting, or engaging, and that's not going to happen. Yeah, that's like, if Daddy Kumia can say it, then I can too. It's like Daddy Kumia says a lot of stuff Daddy Kumia shouldn't be saying. So like repeating what he says is not the greatest plan. Especially when it comes to shit like that. Like, just leave Stuttering John's kids alone. Just leave him alone.
Again, just leave all the kids alone. Like,
yeah, it doesn't matter. Families, kids, workplace, real names, social security numbers, whatever. Just like, it's next level shittery.
Sorry, I'm distracted. I'm trying to see if John wants to get in here, and I am not nearly as good at this as our buddy Carl.
Mm-hmm. Another note, Aaron and April were convinced that the Maui fires were set intentionally. That's what they talked about yesterday. What else do I got here? Edgy and non-PC humor don't necessarily equal funny. What good is footage from the anniversary show that you can't post because it's so racist? Yeah, that's when they were talking about, I guess it was Gino said or Keanu said or somebody said, and so much non-PC and racist shit was said that they're like, whoa, we couldn't even play that. It's like, then what's the fucking point? Like, what's the good of it? To make a bunch of fucking rednecks laugh?
Yeah,
and then it can never see the light of day again. Like, you would think they would have cameras set up so that they could like show this, maybe go through it, whatever.
I'm on the other side of that. I always go for the low-hanging fruit, the easy joke, whatever. Like, I'm good with that. But what I think is, I think that they didn't want it recorded because of the people that were there. It would be apparent that it is locals and bikers and not steel toe fanatics as they were trying to lead you to believe.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that's a good point. Because those pictures could have been from any time, really.
No, I would say that the pictures were probably from then. But if you look at the pictures, you can see it's a bunch of bikers.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of people with vests on, which I would imagine were bikers, not tow boys.
Tow boys. Oh, so I want to get this up on the screen real quick. It's just something I came across. So what I was going to say is Steel Toe morning show started in 2014, but their logo started in 2011, which is when the Steel Toe Brewing Company started using what I would say is a pretty close logo.
Uh-oh.
What?
The Steel Toe Brewing, is that a totally separate entity?
Yeah. It's a brewing company in their region of Minnesota.
Okay, so you think he saw that and he's like, ooh, I like that.
Yeah, I can be a morning show. I can pick PPE. Like I could be the metatarsal in the morning, or I could be eyeglasses in the evening, or whatever the fuck. All right, I got I think I played that the Stuttering John. Here's a quick one of, I think John's on his way, by the way. Here, a quick one of Aaron proving himself wrong.
Well, so this is Prince Harry talking about, I mean, you talk about a guy simping for a toxic woman. This guy is perfect, man. He is case A for simping for a toxic woman. He's actually blaming Meghan being a successful actress for he and his family having a strained relationship. I promise you that your dad, your brother, and your grandma didn't give a fuck about Suits. They didn't care about the show Suits.
And then you get to this point where you meet the love of your life and you introduce them and...
They're Suits fans. Who would have thought?
Oh, well, fuck me. They are Suits fans.
He doesn't watch the clip first?
No. And that, I think that right there, like, epitomizes, he is so sure of everything that's in his head without any regard to reality.
His arrogance and smugness are like off the charts. That's what I mean. Just even that position, even the way he sits is like, I'm going to educate you. I'm going to teach you something right now.
So have you ever caught one of their prize shows?
No, I'm very familiar with them, though, thanks to Milton. He was trying to shut them down.
I pulled a prize show last night, and I put together I guess you'd call it a supercut, but it's just trying to explain to the WATP audience. I don't know if they do it once every 2 weeks, once a month. I don't know when they do it, but I don't even know if they still do it anymore after what Melton did to him. But it's confusing as fuck. It's like a telethon. It's fucking crazy.
Welcome. Good evening. Hi, it's the prize show.
Hey.
Oh, boy. Here we go. Get ready. I got to get into the rules now. $20 super chats or $15 Streamlabs and PayPal, and that's just to make up the difference in the percentages for YouTube. We're going to be giving away basically $10 to Stoney's and $10 to Midland Armory. Stoney's is local, Midland Armory is national. The $10 will go for, we just have those, I think $1 for the $10 just so we can keep straight who wants them. We'll probably just go $5 for the 25 and 10 for the 50. As far as the drawings go, we'll do 8 o'clock for the VIPs. If you don't know this, if you're a VIP, you get entered in a $100 drawing for these prize shows every month. VIPs don't have to be here to win.
Nope.
Members do. We take the number of members we have every month, divide it by the amount of shows we do, and we knock that much off the daily goal. So it does help. And April, anything over 40 qualifiers tonight goes towards tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Remember to get a hold of April if you want those stickers. Some people just want to qualify. They forget about the stickers.
Yes. If you bought anything tonight or if you want anything, please message me. The mods will be putting my information in the chat.
Get in touch with April. She will send that stuff out to
you. It's so confusing.
It's so convoluted. Yeah, like I was trying to follow along, and all I could think of is like, wait a second. So if you want to win a gift card, you have to donate money or give them money.
If you want a chance at winning a gift card to a biker bar in the middle of Minnesota, give us $10, and then there's 5 for 50 and 2 for 16 and 3, and there's a formula where we do a VLOOKUP over here to see if you...
Holy shit, man. Yeah, it seems not worth it. Or an armory. I get a $5 gift certificate to a gun shop? What the fuck am I going to do with that?
I'm going to bring John Jamingo in. John is I know John to be a fan of Steel Toe Morning Show.
How are you doing, gentlemen?
Hey, John, how are you? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So I apologize for dropping this on you. We had just reviewed Steel Toe. That was my last clip to play. And Bryan made a comment that he would like to talk to somebody that actually enjoys this show, and I know you enjoy it, so I wanted to give you a chance to come on and defend Aaron and April.
Well, for me, it's just a morning show. What I don't get is all the hate. Here's a guy that got either he fired or quit radio. I'm not 100% sure what happened. But the only reason I know about this is because I was listening to Misery Loves Company and Brennan's yelling, Steel Toe sucks. Steel Toe's not funny.
Steel Toe doesn't sell tickets.
Apparently Steel Toe does sell tickets. He sells tickets.
Okay, so do you watch an episode from beginning to end?
No, it's 4.5 hours long. I mean, you come in during the day, you stop. It's just like watching a regular radio show. If you're doing something, it's kind of in the background. But I do end up usually listening to the evening show.
And you don't at all get tired of the begging?
No. And here's
And
why.
do you donate? Do you give them money?
Okay, this is what I do. I subscribe to the Patreon because this way I get it as a podcast, because I don't like to, well, first of all, I hate YouTube. Second of all, sometimes I do donate to the show. Here's why. Doug, you do a show, you beg for money. Bryan, I don't know if you beg for money or not, but everybody begs for money.
If I thought people would give me money, I would beg for it for sure.
Right. So this is how excuse me, how I break it down. $3.50 in the morning, $2.50 at night for his shows. And what he does is he asks for people to donate, and he gets it. So of course he begs, but he's got to beg for it.
Oh, so I'm going to stop you, John. I just played a supercut from one episode, the amount of times that he is begging for money. And to say that I beg for money one time at the beginning of the show or one time at the end of the show.
Now, I remember, Doug, we go way back. You would beg for money, and the way you beg for money is different from what he does. He says, you losers should, sign up for Patreon, you losers, or something like that. What he does is he just comes out and begs for it. Now, right. if you don't
I did it in a way that was attempting to be funny, right?
Okay. All right, that's fine. What's the difference between him e-begging, which I look at as a commercial, or playing other commercials? Now, why doesn't he play commercials? Because he does not have enough listeners right now to
Don't
make
tell him that. He doesn't know that.
Sure he does. Of course he knows that.
He talks about tens of thousands of followers on Rumble. And I know his YouTube, he keeps trying to approach 10,000, but people are fucking with him and getting people to unsubscribe so that they can never hit 10,000.
Yes. Now, he went to... See, I think his move is to move all the way to Rumble and get rid of YouTube. I think YouTube's dragging him down, but it's all that sweet, sweet super chat money that you guys all love to go grab.
John, I'm going to tell you right now, I like you as a person, right? When my house got wiped out by a hurricane, you were the first one to step
Doug.
up.
You can insult me, Doug. I don't care.
But my opinion of you has dropped so much because I know how much you enjoy good broadcasting, and Steel Toe isn't it. And to sit there and think that you're going to back him, you are dead to me.
Whatever. I don't care. Here's the problem. If I'm dead to you because I like a show that you don't like, then go fuck yourself. Right, so and I'll be 100% honest with you. Does it get on my nerves a little bit? Yeah, but this is what this guy has to do to make money. All right, this is his profession. All right, he can't go sell meat door to door like you used to. And Bryan, he doesn't have a whole podcasting network like you do. He wants to do this as a profession, and he's trying to get followers and become and pretty soon maybe he won't have to do this, but this is what he has to do right now. And
no, this is what he chooses to do is beg and lie.
Well, how's he lying? Tell me how he lies.
Well, he definitely lies about his numbers.
Well, where?
Because
where
you can see like there's no way he goes to Rumble and within a couple days he has 30,000 viewers. It's not possible.
All right,
I think Rumble starts you out with viewers or something.
Okay, so I'm a dumb guy. All right, so let me ask you a question, Bryan, because you've been in the business and you know stuff. When you have a place like Rumble that has stockholders and it's traded and they have to give real numbers, do you think, don't you think that's an SEC violation if you just start stacking people with views and stuff like that? Is Rumble allowed to go and give you views that you're not really getting?
No, I would believe that. I don't know that much about Rumble, but I would think that's not allowed. But you can buy viewers and you can buy listeners, that kind of shit.
You can. That's true. You can buy viewers, and you.
So if you didn't break the bank on Gino and Piano,
well. First of all,
John, just think about this, that whether he buys viewers or they were given to him, donated, whatever the fuck, I don't know. But what I know is that some of his videos on Rumble within the first couple hours get tens of thousands of views and 2 comments. That is suspect.
All right, well, that's me. I'm the one over there commenting on Rumble.
You rule, Steel Toe.
I'll try to pick up the pace next time, Doug, if that'll make you feel better.
No, but if there's 10,000 people watching it, wouldn't there be just more than you out there in the void?
All right, so when I'm over there watching it on Rumble,
Just
it's
yes or no, John.
Let me explain, all right? Don't give me that fucking Congress shit. When I'm over there watching it, there's 300 to 400 to 500 people watching it live. And there's more than 2. If you would do your homework, not saying that you're not, but you don't. If you were over there doing your homework, you would see that there are more than 2 people chatting and that it is live. Now, I don't know what the replays do. And second of all, you know how I feel. I'm a podcaster. I like podcasting. I want to be able to listen to it when I want to listen to it and view it when I want to view it. I can't sit there all morning and watch his show. I don't watch your show, but I listen to your show. So I like things as a podcast. That's why I pay $10 a month to his Patreon. So it comes to me as an RSS feed.
What did you listen to growing up, John?
Well, I started out with John DeBella okay, and then
Zookeeper,
right, and then Howard Stern moved over. So then I listened to him. Then Opie and Anthony. Then then they had the big fights with Don and Mike. So I've been into this whole crazy radio thing because I'm right outside of Philadelphia.
So you're steeped in it. You're steeped in it.
Yeah.
So then how do you listen to a guy who's such a pale imitation and so desperately wants to be Anthony?
Okay. I would tell you that he is in the top 10% of all people that do this kind of podcasting. Now, I'm not saying that he's amazing. I'm just saying that the 90% behind him is complete shit. And I'm not even saying, so when you see something that's halfway decent, you listen to it.
So you think this guy's in the top 10% of podcasters today?
He's as good as Doug.
So fucking what? Like that
Doug he's got the same sense of humor as Doug, the same sense of humor as me. How are you so much better than he is? Doug?
Let me count the ways. 1, I don't fucking lie. 2, much.
Okay. 2, which is 1.
So what I would ask you to do, because I do not want to go back through all these clips. I am done listening to that voice.
Whatever.
I would ask you to go back and listen to all the examples that were played leading up to you coming on. I apologize that you weren't here to hear it.
Is this on Patreon? Because I don't have your Patreon anymore.
This
fired you. Okay.
This is WATP.
Oh, look, I made it without being on a cringe of the week. Look at me.
It's still early.
So you know what?
Go ahead.
It's funny you say that. I'll let you hang around here. We're wrapping up Steel Toe and we're moving on. So
Cringe of the week. Cringe of the week.
In what I believe to be a WATP first, the cringe of the week is from the show we just reviewed, Steel Toe Morning Show. We just got done listening to them discuss how close they are with Gino Bisconte, right? I'm sure you're well aware of that, John.
Yes, I watched him on Friday with Gino. It was an amazing show, in my opinion.
Okay. So this is a clip of Aaron talking about how close him and Gino are.
Gino Bisconte is a comedian. It's not hard to rattle the guy's cage. No. We did it, for God's sake.
He is fragile.
We got to Gino. He's very fragile. You know who he falls in line with? Tony Michaels and Chad Zumach. He's very much one of these paint-by-numbers guys who, when they're rattled or when they're bothered, you'll know it because they'll say they're not bothered or they're not rattled. And he has this weird thing where he's one of these guys who gets in these beefs, gets in these little spats, and then he always makes up that, he didn't start it. It's always the other person who started it. Gino apparently played at Kevin and Bob Levy's club, Reverend Bob Levy from the Howard Stern Show. They recently played at their club and apparently bombed. He had a terrible set because Gino's kind of a shock jockey comedian. They said all he wanted to do was tell Anne Frank and Holocaust jokes. He says the N-word on stage because he thinks it's edgy. It's really
free speech, bro. Remember?
And then goes, free speech, blah. So he really, really sucks. And his response to Kevin Brennan and Bob Levy, well, first of all, Kevin Brennan and Bob Levy weren't going to say anything about Gino. But then Gino went on his show and started attacking Kevin and Bob's club that they played at over the weekend. The crowd was tight. Bob didn't set them up right. This is what's wrong with the club. The crowd sucked. Now, first of all, I've done comedy long enough to tell you that you can spot a hack from a mile away if you see a guy blaming the crowd when he bombs. The greats can kill in front of almost anybody.
But they just didn't get the jokes, Aaron.
Right. They didn't understand. Well, you see, the problem is when it comes to Gino Bisconte, when he bombs, he always says, well, the compound media crowds that they play for love it. Yeah, that's because they're laughing at you as much as they are laughing with you. Gino blames the crowd whenever he goes outside of the compound crowds because most people go, ooh, this guy fucking sucks.
Not so good.
I think it was Kevin Brennan who said, well, then Gino must blame every crowd that he performs in front of. But now they went on, Gino and his band of middlers went up and went on Gino's show on Compound and smashed the shit out of Bob's club and Kevin's club.
Yeah, you're right. He's not a bad guy, and he doesn't use relationships to further anything, John.
Who doesn't do that? Okay, Doug, you and I.
Jesus Christ.
Who doesn't? Doug, who doesn't? I could say that
you know what?
Your show. Hang on.
No. I'll tell you who.
To WATP just so you could get listeners, which worked out tremendously for you. And I was the one, like an idiot, defending your show against that.
That is irrelevant. Me sending my show to Carl for him to shit on me, is not the same as Bryan is a good example. We had Bryan on Who's Right, and it went horribly because we handled it poorly. And what I didn't do is go on Who's Right and badmouth Bryan. When I sent Bryan an email and said, thanks for coming on and you're invited back anytime, he didn't respond to me. It was my fault. We handled him poorly.
Who hasn't done this?
I just told you I didn't.
I know. I've done it too. I was a fan of WATP back when Carl was with Kevin. And when he did your show and a couple of other friends of my show, I attacked Carl. And then you guys all made up with him, and I was the Philly fanatic.
There was no making up. I didn't take it personally when he shit on my show. That's what he does.
I took it personally.
Well, you're an idiot.
I was a friend of yours. I took it personally. I attacked him. So what you're saying right now is that one time he didn't like Gino Bisconte, and now all of a sudden they become friends, and now Gino Bisconte is the best thing since sliced bread. Is that what this clip's about? Because if not, I'm confused.
You forgot the part where he paid him to be friends. Yes, but yes,
him to be friends. Okay, so then I guess I paid you to be your friend too.
Well, I didn't pay you $10,000 to come play golf with me.
No, but I gave you money when your house floated away. So can I pay you to be my friend? If I didn't pay you money to be my friend, would you be my friend right now? I'd say no.
No.
Of course not. So it's done all the time.
God, you look so bad. You already admitted your true feelings that you find his show annoying, but then you double down on defending his heinous actions.
I said that I'm not crazy about the begging, but what's the difference between the begging and commercials? That's what I said. I didn't say I found his show annoying.
Because then you're selling a product. Like he's consistently selling himself.
Okay, so whether he's selling himself or selling boner pills or mattresses or whatever fucking other things these podcasters sell nowadays.
Coffee. It's not
coffee. Coffee. Everybody's got a fucking coffee. April's Magic Bean, Doug's big giant black shit, whatever the fuck's out there, Jody's half shot off face, all that fucking coffee shit to make money. You guys all do the same thing, but you're pissed off at him because he shakes a can and does the thing at the end. And he reminds you that
it's the way he frames it. He doesn't say, if you would like to, he feels like they are obligated. It is their obligation.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with him, and I'll tell you why. His cheap fucking audience, if they get off their ass and give him money in the first fucking hour, we wouldn't have to hear about any of this for the rest of the
goddamn show.
Now
you're doing it. Just go on, do your show, be done.
You're coping, John.
If people
is that
like
what it is? That's what the kids call today, coping?
Coping, yeah.
If people like you, they will support you. You don't have to just keep fucking over and over and over.
He makes his goal almost every show.
No,
wait a minute.
He doesn't.
He does about $600 a day all right. So I don't even know. I can't remember the math on what he does, but he does. He makes his show. There's not too many days that he does not make his goal.
It's usually because he gets bailed out at the end, though. Like a Chandler comes in or one of these whales.
Does he care? Would you care?
I
Or
wouldn't care. It wouldn't bother me either.
it's an anonymous PayPal donation that always gets him just over the edge.
So you think he's paying himself?
No, I don't think that it was ever there. I don't think that you have to make an anonymous. The anonymous PayPal donations don't come in over the screen, right?
You're right there. I never thought about that, but if that's the case, he's only hurting himself.
What, is that another FEC violation?
No, I don't know. I don't think so. I just think it's a. I think it's a cope. He's coping.
Yeah.
I think it's a fake cope.
John, I'm curious. Do you think April belongs behind a mic or behind a stove?
Both.
Yeah?
I don't find her. Again, I think she does a halfway decent job. Listen,
I think she's better than he is.
I podcast with a stuttering guy that can't seem to get his equipment to work right. So she's a dream.
Again, yeah. So, John, I apologize to you because you missed the conversation. We established that April is better at broadcasting than Eric.
Yeah.
That's where that question was coming from.
Yeah, I don't think she does a bad job at all as a second mic.
All right. So, can we move on?
It's your show. What am I doing?
All right. I wasn't talking to you.
Oh.
I've got one more cringe of the week, and then, and it's just an excuse for me to play as many of these jingles and stingers as possible because I don't get a chance to do it on my show.
Cringe of the week. Cringe of the week.
All right. This is yet another steel toe clip.
And then he refers to himself as daddy, which is disgusting.
Oh.
Talking about Gino Visconti.
There's no bigger sign that a guy's lacking confidence or was bullied a lot as a kid that he does shit like that. And then he'll say, "Oh, I don't start it. Daddy finishes it."
Oh, gross. That's
It's
so gross.
really gross. I mean, it's one of those things that really insecure people say.
Yeah.
John, I'll ask you first. Do you agree with that statement that is something that really insecure people say is daddy said this or daddy did that?
I don't think it's someone insecure. I'll tell you what, though, the fact that when you get old like me, like Gino, like you, when you say daddy says something, it does make people go, oh, my God. Like when we were fighting the other day, and I said about the show being loose, and I said, daddy likes it tight. And the whole fucking audience freaked out.
Well, I've got an example of somebody else using it.
Guys, I've got great news. You got 10 minutes today. You got 10 minutes. Daddy gave you 10 minutes.
I didn't hear that one. Daddy gave you 10 minutes.
I think I disagree with Aaron. I think it's just like a joking thing to say. And like, like if like I have, my wife is 29, I'm 55. So if I say in mixed company, I refer to myself as daddy, it's going to make motherfuckers cringe.
Sure is.
For sure. But I don't see it as a sign of insecurity. I disagree with Aaron on that one. And it is interesting that April's agreeing with everything he says about one of her 4 favorite performers on earth.
Right.
You missed that too, John. April's 4 favorite performers are Steel Toe, herself, Gino, and Keanu.
Oh, look at that.
It's convenient, right?
Bryan, can I ask you who your favorite 4 performers are?
I don't know Doug for one.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It would take me a long time. And I don't know that I'm friends with any of them. Certainly not people I just met that same day.
Yeah, it wouldn't coincidentally be the last 3 people that were in a picture with me.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? I think next year I'm going to go up for the 10th anniversary, get in a picture so I can be her 5th best person.
I think you got a good chance after this apologist tour you're doing for Steel Toe.
Listen.
Maybe he'll promote you to VIP member.
You know what? I am going to do that. I am going, you know what? Now, because of all this, I am going to pull hard-earned cash, $250 hard-earned cash out of my wallet, dump it down on Steel Toe so I can be a VIP member. Here's what I don't get. Why the hate? Why not just ignore them? This, Doug, to be honest with you, this right here, what you're doing right now, is the most amazing propaganda for him, advertisement for him. So he's probably going to love this. He'll go back and pick it up. He'll pick it up and pick it apart. So if they're talking about you, it's always good, right?
All right.
I don't know. I've had a few things said about me that weren't that great, and I'd rather people didn't.
All right, John, we're going to move on. Thank you very much for stopping in.
Yeah,
thanks for having
John.
me, guys. Nice
Appreciate
meeting you,
it.
Brian.
Yeah, you too.
Was that Boomer Bunker?
Boomer Bunker.
All right. Take care, John.
He's got a stuttering co-host, huh?
All right. You want to get into some stuttering John?
I would love to. Stuttering John, the man who left the Dabbleverse and then returned less than 12 hours later. He announced his exit and then was on a show. I believe it was Hypocrisy Police bashing Carl no less than 12 hours later. Really shitting on him. Stuttering John is the gift that keeps giving. Some of this is going to be dated because this is not live, obviously, everyone. So some of this is a little dated, and I decided to go through the Hypocrisy Police episode, the Skull versus the Troll, where Carl and Stuttering John, this is the second one. This is the second episode where Stuttering John and Carl went head to head and argued a couple points and bonded at times. And at the end of the episode, spoiler alert, looks like when Carl and Stuttering John are in, where do they live again? Cape Coral.
Yeah.
They're going to grab a beer, possibly as early as today.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm. Now, does this ruin the Stuttering John thing? Like, because when they go at each other, as we're going to see some of these clips, when they go at each other now, it seems like there isn't that vitriol that they used to have for each other. Carl doesn't go as hard at him. Stuttering John is like, treats it like a joke, kind of. Like, I don't know, maybe the meeting wasn't a good thing.
No, I would definitely say that it wasn't a good thing for all the reasons you just said. So Carl didn't follow his own rule. Observe and report. That's what you're supposed to do. Not observe and then go drink beers with them and hang out and then come back and talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're going to see where this takes the Dabbleverse then, because Stuttering John is very, like, I'm assuming he's not going back to teaching. If for no other reason than he totally fucked himself. I saw something where he was telling people that the trolls reported him and it was going to be a problem to go back to teaching and all this other shit. But it's like, look, this is one of those situations where Stuttering John was so wasted and so like saying such outlandish shit that you're like, should he be? I mean, I would never report him, but like if he were my kid's teacher, I would at least get my kid transferred out of that classroom. At the very least, because I'm like, I don't want this guy around my kids. I mean, if not for no other reason than his fingernails alone. His hygiene is questionable.
Questionable at best.
Yeah. So like I said, this is Skull versus the Troll. This would be the second part. The first part was a lot of John shouting over Carl and not letting Carl get points out. This is kind of similar. Except by the end of this, I felt like there is a chance that John is evolving, that John has seen the error of his like hardcore Democratic, it's the Dems versus the Republicans, us versus them mentality, canceling everybody, that kind of shit. Because I think for once, there are moments where John becomes self-aware and is like, ooh, I did that too. And what I'm railing for is something that could come back to bite me in the ass, perhaps. So maybe I should soften my stance, So in clip one, John name drops a major celeb he's now friends with.
But can we get into this? Because you started off with some name dropping with Vinnie Paulino. Very
That's
cool.
not name dropping. Nobody knows who Vinnie Paulino is.
Oh, he's a pretty big deal. Let's not lie.
That's name. I mean, no offense, but that's name dropping.
No, no offense to Vinnie Paulino. Now, my question is, because I was aware of some of the things that were going to happen in this episode prior, because Vinny said that, like, I knew that Vinny met Stuttering John on Cardiff show, I believe it was, and they became fast friends. And then, as we'll find out, Vinny has been in touch with Stuttering John. So what does this mean for Carl in terms of like his friendship with Vinny Paulino? Now that Vinny's feeding information and photos and all kinds of, and basically doxing Carl to Stuttering John. What does this mean for their friendship? What does this mean for the creep off?
The only thing I know, I haven't watched this video. The only thing that I know is somebody put a screenshot up, I think it was in the WATP subreddit, of Carl's face when he realized Vinny double-crossed him or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming that's what this is in reference to. I didn't know Vinny sent over a bunch of information or anything.
Yeah, Vinny sent some information over that was helpful to Stuttering John. And Stuttering John definitely wanted to, or Carl's expression was like, oh, fuck. What? Like, I think his feeling was like, well, what else did he send him? What else did he tell him?
And did Vinny just do that just so we would talk about it, essentially?
I know, because I think Vinny did it unprompted. He didn't even know about this, I don't think.
No, I just meant us as in fans of WATP.
The fans of the show. Perhaps. I mean, it's a pretty funny move. If you don't mind betraying your friend. It is kind of funny because, like, where else is Stuttering? Well, if Stuttering John did any homework, he would have been able to find certain things, and something like this, the name dropping. In my clip number 2, we definitely see, or at least assume, that John is A, not rich, and B, is willing to sell out for minimal cash.
Tell you something.
Yeah.
Your good buddy, Pocky.
Yeah.
He, I provided them with a lot of his racist nonsense.
Okay.
And they paid me an extra $300.
That's it. He freezes and never actually finishes the thought. But my feeling was, wait a second. So these are things that you wouldn't have said unless you were paid money. Now, I know in movies it's like there's a bump for, like, say an actress is like, hey, we need you to show your boobs in this scene. There's a nudity bump. You get a little bit of extra money. So is that the way TV operates as well? Like, if we give you $300, you can say out loud all the shit that, now this is from a Vice special that I just watched last night. It's called The Dark Side of the 2000s. I saw it on YouTube, and it's all about, like, the radio war, Stern versus DeBella versus Mark and Bryan versus Opie and Anthony. And Stuttering John was a talking head on it. And at one point, towards the very end, he starts talking about Anthony's racism, which, if anybody follows Anthony on Twitter, you know what Anthony says. So, like, it's not like John had this, like, inside
He's not uncovering
track.
Anything.
No, not at all. And then I said, why would they need John to expose this on camera? And the reason is very simple, because he's a fucking idiot, and they knew that for minimal cash he would do it. And he has to get in at the very end. I couldn't pull the clip because I don't know how to rip fucking video from YouTube because I'm ignorant. But at the very end of the clip, he's talking about Anthony and being racist and all this stuff. And he's like, and he made fun of my trans kid. And then the clip ends. But, like, he had to get it in there that he made fun of his trans kid. And that actually made me laugh. That was the funniest thing that John said the entire time. I don't get Stuttering John, like, jumping on Anthony for this shit. Like, when there's plenty of examples of John saying things that, like, today are not acceptable, but throughout he copes, like Steel Toe. Throughout this entire episode, he copes. He's like, well, that was then, this is now. But if you were ever to sit there and listen to his political show, all that matters is what you used to say, or what you said, the jokes you made, all that shit,
Not if it pertains to you.
Then you get a pass. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah. I think more and more people are like, okay, so John, you were on TV for this long, or you were on Stern for this long, and you said plenty of shit, and you did plenty of shit that, like, by today's standards would be deemed unacceptable. So, what do you say about that? And he has no answer. So in as we'll see many times throughout the this video, he'll talk over Carl. He'll interject with super chats, like, or he doesn't remember, or he forgets. And there's a clip later on where I say, there's a chatter who calls him out for not remembering or saying that he was joking. And if you know John, it's like he remembers every fucking compliment anyone ever gave him since the second grade. But like shit, his screen names from Reddit from a couple months ago, his burner accounts, those he can't recall. Jokes he made a couple years ago, those he can't recall. Yeah, I don't remember.
It would be best, like, so one, you shouldn't position yourself to be holier than thou, right?
No. Be a shithead. Then no one
Right.
expects anything from you.
Right. But when his entire left-leaning stance was that everybody else is racist and everybody else is this or that, knowing what his history, like, it's not that hard to dig up him saying stupid shit, trying to get a laugh. And my opinion is that's what he should say. Instead of saying, I don't remember saying that, he should say, yeah, I thought it was funny. And just move on.
Mm-hmm.
My views have changed. I thought it was funny. I don't know. Go fuck yourself. Quit digging up old shit.
Yeah, but the going back and trying to justify and defend, and like it was the show. That's the way the show was. It's like Stern, Stern being like, I was out of my mind at that time. It's like that still doesn't fucking excuse using the N-word. I don't care how out of your mind you were. If everyone else has to answer for it, why doesn't Stern have to answer for it? And I don't think anybody should have to answer for that kind of shit from the past anyway, because we all know, like I said it not too long ago on a different podcast, but I'm like, how I know those times were better? Because I lived through those times and I've lived through these times. And these times, as far as like censorship and PC stuff, fucking suck. So it's like, you can't sit there and be like, it's better today when you're fucking 20 years old and have no context for the way things used to be.
Right.
Where people didn't freak out over every little joke. And I'm not saying like run around, use the N-word freely or whatever. I'm just saying like, let's all not get so offended at shit, at every little fucking thing, And that's what Stuttering John was kind of like putting forth, is like being offended at every little thing when he was a guy that was making offensive content non-stop.
And I'm not uncovering anything new, but I don't think that there is an ounce of John that has ever been offended by anything that he's claimed to be offended by. He needed a stance, and he was trying to proposition himself as a leader of the left, so to speak. And he needed a platform to stand on. So,
and it was the easiest one to jump on at that point because everyone's agreeing with you. Like, he has that echo chamber where he says like this about Trump, and then like he still talks about Trump. It's amazing. It's like the guy has not been president in how long? He's not going to be president again. We all know it. So like, just who gives a fuck anymore? It's boring. It's boring, man. But that's his, like, that, I guess that's how he thought he was going to make a couple bucks, because he was well positioned. He has the trans kid, and I think another one of his kids is gay, so he can really jump on the woke movement and act like, none of this shit he said in the past ever happened, to the point where he's still to this day, like, when he went out with Elisa Giordani's telling her that she gained weight and all this other shit. And it's like, dude, what the fuck? You don't say that to anyone. But like, if you think that somebody isn't going to judge you as a misogynist for like, after a woman won't give you a kiss, you're like, well, you're getting kind of fat. It's like, what the fuck, dude?
Okay, so I just gained a little bit of respect for John.
Yeah. Yeah, he wanted to peck up. He was very upset that he didn't get a kiss from Elisa Giordano because he knew her and they were friends. There are women I've known for decades, and when I see them, I'm like, hey, maybe a hug. Kissing though? I don't know. That's the way we do it in the pub. That's what he says. My clip 3 is John cannot figure out why Carl is successful.
You said you don't know why I'm successful at podcasting.
No, I know why he's successful.
Oh, because you said you didn't understand. So do you know why? Why is that?
No, I understand, because you're obsessed with me.
Oh, okay. Weird.
Because I'm the famous one.
Okay.
I mean, you don't have any real fame. I mean, all you have is this Dabbleverse fame. That's about it.
Yeah.
Now, there's a couple things in there. John still considers himself famous, which is insane. famous to me means that, like, if I say to my parents who are in their 70s, like, hey, did you hear what Stuttering John said? They'd be like, who the fuck is Stuttering John? If I said, hey, you know Tom Hanks? Yes, they know Tom Hanks. And I know there's varying degrees of fame, but I would not call Stuttering John famous anymore. He has not been famous in some time. But like guys like Stuttering John, like he reminds me, that really reminded me of a discussion I had with Kevin Brennan once. I went down to see Chip Chipperson down in Philadelphia, and a bunch of Compound people there. It's when Kevin was still at Compound. And I guess he must have looked me up and he saw how many Twitter followers I had. And he's like looking at me like I'm a different species because he hadn't heard of me before. He didn't wasn't familiar with Tell 'em Steve Dave or Comic Book Men or any of that shit. And like there's a certain type of person, and KB is the same way, in as much as like they're consumed with how much money you're making, how popular you are. And I feel like, why am I not doing that? Why am I not making that money? Like it's a strange mindset, because I don't look at other people, like I don't look at fucking Joe Rogan or any number of podcasts, Carl, anybody. I'm like, why am I not doing the same thing that Doug is doing, or that Carl is doing, or that Joe Rogan is doing? It's like, I don't know. I don't know. Like it's not, I don't see it as a competition. Like people naturally gravitate towards shows, and then they, like they hear me on Who's Right, and then they're like, oh, I never even heard of Tell 'em Steve Dave. Let me check it out. And like that's how you sort of grow your audience little by little. And to tell you the truth, I never, going back to that email you said that you sent thanking me for coming. I don't recall ever getting that. And I would definitely come back on.
Yeah,
so I'm saying that for the record.
So going back to your earlier point, one of the things in my professional life that I have found help me out, and I've said this multiple times, is never count somebody else's money. You just worry about your own deals. You worry about your own employment, the deal you make with your employer when you get a job. Don't worry about what anybody else is making. Don't worry about anybody else's follower count. None of that bullshit. Just focus on your shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see how it really matters. It's like, obviously, like any number of us would be like, man, it would be sweet to have Rogan's numbers. Of course it would be. But it's like, that's never going to happen. Not in this lifetime. So like, why even think about it? Why worry about it? But I feel like that's Aaron's mindset. Aaron thinks that he could get those numbers up to a point where like he's a Rogan type.
It's just,
so I don't know. Is he arrogant or is he delusional? I can't tell.
It's just, I think it's big broadcasting is holding Aaron down. That's what it is.
That could be it. You're right. I hadn't considered that possibility. Let's see. Number 4 is another example of Stuttering John dismissing stuff. When Stuttering John doesn't have an answer, I like to, like, I watched this twice. I watched it when it first came out, and then I had to rewatch it to pull the clips and stuff. And the second time, I really watched John's face a lot. You can tell a lot by his eyes. Like, watch Stuttering John's eyes in any number of these clips.
Jesse Blinkman, thanks for $5. Why does John's Tonight Show make that Jay Leno you just have a price tag on the bottom? I don't know. I don't think it's a price tag, is it? Is that a price tag? I don't know.
He probably bought it at the store.
No, that was in the
souvenir shop.
Now, if it is a price tag, or let's say if it isn't a price tag, wouldn't you say it's not a price tag? Is that a price tag? And how long has it been since he was on the Tonight Show? Like, I can't remember when. I mean, it's been a good 8 years at least. He either hasn't used the mug once, which we know isn't true because we've seen it before, or he's never washed it, or he bought it recently and is saying that it's one that Leno used. Now, I know this is minutia. This is tiny, stupid shit, but it's important to point out, like, first of all, John says he went to NYU, right? And I think later on he brags about it, like, because Carl says something about him not using his NYU education. If he went to NYU for film and TV production, why does he look so shitty? Why does he look so terrible in every single fucking stream that he does?
maybe this is him looking. Maybe this is him with makeup on. Maybe he looks worse without the NYU stuff on him.
Wow. That would be something. I hadn't considered that as a possibility.
Oh, I'm sure if what you said earlier holds true and Carl and John get together and have a beer, I'm sure we'll hear about it.
That I would like to. Could Carl jump the shark by agreeing to go out for a beer with Stuttering John?
Yeah, I think he would.
Yeah. We're gonna have to text him after this and tell him whatever he does. Don't fucking accept that invitation. They're gonna get too chummy. Nobody needs a chummy Carl and Stuttering John.
Here, I think as a WATP listener, maybe that's fine. They do their shows together, but from now on, just take Stuttering John off of WATP. Like
don't do that segment. Yeah.
There's a story arc, and we're at the bottom of it.
Yeah, I gotta hand it to Carl though. He hasn't like really gone soft or pulled punches on John. Like he asks some hard questions. John just doesn't answer them. That's the problem. Let's see. So my next clip. John believes his writing contributed to his fame.
What number is this?
This would be clip 5.
All right.
Who'd you write for, Carla?
I write for 4 different podcasts that I host.
Yeah,
So-
okay, podcast. Okay. Yeah, there's a barometer of fame. Let's
John,
see.
talking about the past is not doing you any favors. I don't know how you're not figuring this out.
Oh, really? I just did the CBS roast.
Now there's a couple things in there that like I was shocked that Carl did not bite on. I just did the CBS roast because that's not something that I've heard before from Stuttering John. I don't know what the CBS roast is. I don't know when it was. It seems recent.
Again, this is in John's head, talking about what he did 20 years ago as a barometer of fame, as he said.
Yeah,
and then
he's like, "Oh, you got podcast fame." John, what John doesn't understand is like when you say Stuttering John, nobody thinks about him from the Tonight Show. Nobody. It's always Howard Stern, which means that people are thinking him from over 20 years ago.
Yeah, but again, as John has recognized, the times are different now. Having podcast fame kind of means something, right? So Carl is making his living podcasting. That's because Carl has a fuck ton of listeners. Yeah. Carl can go anywhere in the country and sell out anything, probably even sell out a biker bar if he wanted to.
Oh, WATP at Stoney's.
I would probably go to that. That would be interesting.
Right? Me, you, and what was his name? John?
Yeah, John.
Get front row seats. Let's see. This my clip 6 is more Carl based, but this is an example of one of the many times that John cuts Carl off to read super chats, and it's Carl's expression here that made me laugh.
Let me just point this out because remember when there was a video of you from
I only
Pickwick?
know who you are, John, because of Carl. Yeah, of course. He talks about me nonstop.
Are you fucking kidding me?
And then so many times throughout the show, Carl will ask him to stop cutting him off, and John will counter with like, "But you told me to read super chats. How are we supposed to get through the super chats if I can't read them?" Many times he does this, and it's humorous every time. I don't know if he's doing it on purpose or if he's fucking with Carl or he's just that fucking bad at it. But it's
I think it's just that he's that bad at it, right? So trying to do a live show and keep up with the super chats is very hard. You almost just have to have a super chat oriented show where it's you read one, you respond to it, you read one, respond to it.
Right.
Or be really good at transitioning and finishing your thought and then putting the super chat up and referencing it and then moving on. But to try to do both things simultaneously where you're answering somebody's question and then the person that asked it interrupts you to read a super chat is probably not the right recipe.
Yeah. Clip 7 we kind of covered already. This is the one where I said This is where John jokes and can't remember selectively.
Hey, Ro, thanks for the $5 every time John gets exposed and all. It was a joke. No, I just can't remember it. No, I can't remember.
Doesn't matter if you remember it or not. You were threatening a mob hit on someone. You did it to me too.
Yeah, and I was kidding, and you know I was.
This is when he was. They talk about it a little bit, where John threatens a mob hit on somebody, and then 4 hours later said he was just kidding, and that he had been hanging around with John Gotti Jr. too much. And I guess John Gotti Jr.'s or John Gotti's grandson wrote in and or contacted to contact him, was tweeted something and said that he was like, look, Stuttering John does not know my uncle that well, that he should be dropping his name. They met twice, something like that. And then, Stuttering John goes on. He's like, but I hung out with him, right? Did I hang out with him? It's like, yeah, but you shouldn't be. I mean, to drop a fucking mob guy's name is probably not a great idea in general.
My uncle was at a has-been convention and took a picture with him. That's about as far as it went.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Stuttering John saw him, approached him on the street, and was like, yo, John, can I get a picture? Clip 8. I only want to play for one reason. And you'll
Vinny's
I figured everybody
I didn't
wanted
mean to cut you off there with the clip.
No, that's okay. Everybody wants to see Carl in the cowgirl outfit again. So
sent you this, huh?
Okay,
Fuck you,
so okay, everybody. So what? Okay, now if Carl's supposed to be hetero, why is he dressed up
Formulate
like a
your thoughts there,
cowgirl?
buddy.
So if Carl is hetero, because John is convinced that Carl is gay, his evidence is that Carl has wood paneling and Carl doesn't have any children. So far, he called him effeminate for the first time on MLC when they appeared together the first time. I don't understand why John, having the trans kid and possibly the gay kid, is constantly using gay as a pejorative.
Yeah, I was going to say that, and I was going to preface it by saying I've heard multiple people say the same thing. But to sit there and say that you're not allowed to make fun of my trans kid or my kid that's gay, and then use that exact same thing as an insult, which apparently I just learned is a pejorative. Is that what you said?
Yeah, like a negative.
Yeah, I think it just shows how fucking dense he is. I think he's got wet brain.
I think he has wet brain. I think he has, and we all laugh at him, but I do believe he has a serious personality disorder. Like I saw somebody in the chat suggested histrionic personality disorder, which he definitely has some of the hallmarks of it. I mean, the guy constantly needs attention. He's constantly a victim or making something up or some bullshit, so it's entirely possible. And again, just wanted to make sure everybody saw Carl in that cow bikini. Although, like, he refers to him as a cowgirl, which is weird because I don't know any cowgirls who dress like that. and he tries to steamroll through it, even though Carl is like, that's shit. I just totally lost my train of thought because I'm crossing off my notes here.
So am I correct that was a consequence from the creep off?
Yes, that's exactly the point. That was a consequence from the creep off, and Carl tries to explain that, but Stuttering John just steamrolls him and calls him gay, and I mean the world is, especially pop culture, is rife with examples of men who dressed as women for whatever reason, and turns out they're not gay. Turns out Uncle Milty is straight.
I would counter and say the best example that I could come up with of Carl, that I think Carl is gay, is him backing out of the Gary, Indiana consequence.
So gay that the only reason I said I would take the ride with him is because I'm convinced he'll give me roadhead on the way there.
Oh, yeah. So you're just in it for what you can get out of it then. I get it. That's fine.
Yeah. I'm taking a page out of Steel Toe's book, Whatever relationship I can make work, that's what I'm going to do. Clip 9, John is caught in a lie. And again, this is another one of those situations where you have to watch his eyes. Like, watch John's eyes during this clip.
has every room in his Florida house furnished, you hack.
That's
true.
'cause
He bought it 3 months before me.
I have 3 beds in my house, one for each bedroom, John. You should try that.
Yeah. I've only been here 2 weeks, you dumb fuck. Go ahead.
2 weeks, John? You've been in your house in Florida for 2 weeks. You know that's not true. Why do you say shit like that? We know the exact date that you closed on the house.
When we closed, dummy.
Yeah, but you've been there before you are there now.
What?
Why did he pick up his rescue dog shirt? Like that was going to shut him up.
He keeps doing that because when he first had his hypocrisy police shirt, whenever somebody was hypocritical, he was lifting it up. He said that he had bought 2. People were like, let's see the second shirt on camera. He never showed it. Then he stopped wearing the hypocrisy police shirt altogether and just wears different shirts. But if he feels somebody's being hypocritical, he still does this.
It's a muscle memory. In the middle of an argument, you just say, pick a rescue dog. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, his eyes in that were so like he said, like, we didn't get to see Aaron when he got busted by April lying about the story that he shared with his friend, but you can see John here, and like you see like his he's like, what? Huh? Like leaning forward. What
friend? What story?
Yeah. Yeah. So another situation where John is obviously lying. Carl calls him out on it, and he won't just be like, all right, you know what, maybe I exaggerated. It has, because he doesn't want to say, I don't have the fucking money to buy beds or turn the lights on or whatever the fuck. Because I didn't pull any clips from it, but at the very end of this show, it's John's almost invisible. It's so dark in his house. I think he was relying on natural light. And so as it got a little bit darker, like you can't really see anything in the house. So I guess he has no lights or anything. It's a strange way to do business.
And don't you think it would be much more entertaining and interesting if he was just to be 100% honest? Like, look, I made some bad choices. I thought I was set up financially for the rest of my life. I played my cards wrong, and now I'm struggling to keep my lights on. Like, just being real, it would take away a lot of the haters, as they say, or the trolls.
Yeah, because then they wouldn't have anything to come at him with. But guys like John are so ego driven that like it would be impossible for him to admit some sort of shortcoming or personal flaw or personal failure. You know, it's very, very difficult for guys like that to say like, yeah, I fucked up, or I should have banked some of that Tonight Show money. You know, there's an ongoing thing too with Artie and John. Like, you know, John says that he's friends with Artie. John has said some like stuff that I feel you can't take back, you know, like telling Artie to kill himself, right, and all that other shit. Like if I was Artie, I would never speak to John again. And then there's a guy, Dan Filato, who I think was Artie's producer when he was doing the Artie show. He wasn't with Artie and Anthony. It was just Artie's podcast. And there's a situation in which Stuttering John comes on, and I guess he made some jokes about his trans kids. And Dan Filato was like, hey, do you want me to kill that? So everybody pretty much knows this story. Do you want me to kill that segment? And John said no. And then the next day was like, hey, you can't play that. My family will be mad at me, blah, blah, blah. And now Stuttering John is saying that Dan Filato is an enabler. So I'm like, John accuses Dan Filato of being an enabler. And then this.
What number is this?
That's clip 10.
Ridiculous. With the amount of work that all of these guys did to try to help Artie, and you're the only person who would show up to Artie's house with a case of beer. This guy is supposed to be trying to get better and going to rehab. You were the only one who you were drinking beer in front of him.
He was drinking too.
No, everyone was trying to get. Oh, so you were enabling him that. If you were bringing beer over and he was drinking it, he's trying to get sober at this time.
No, he wasn't drinking my beer. I thought he was drinking Jack then.
No.
As if Carl would know. That was one of the big reasons I pulled that clip, was because I'm just like he's definitely enabling. He says he wasn't drinking my beer. Not the point, John. The point is that if you have a person around you that you say is your friend and you consider them important in your life, and they have a substance abuse issue, you do not do any substances in front of them that may like trigger them or make them want to fucking, join you in the beer. But him asking, he's like, he was drinking Jack. Like, again, Stuttering John's selective memory, where he's like, I don't remember. He was drinking Jack. Do you remember, Carl? Of course you would remember, wouldn't you? Like, what the fuck? It makes no sense. And then my clip 11 is basically a continuation from clip 10. Instead of addressing John being the enabler, again, he cuts Carl off, and Carl's expression is perfect.
Gosh, is there drugs around here? And they're trying everything they can to keep drugs away from this guy, but they can't help it. He's an adult. He's going to do that.
Oh, okay,
but if you know what Colin Quinn and Bob Levy and Daniel Filato did,
tattling John Mullins.
They tried multiple times, John.
As a child of an alcoholic father.
The looking off like motherfucker.
Yeah, I've recorded with Carl enough to know. So you know how you can read him, right, when he's ready to move on. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you want to talk about this episode? It's that his face is very easy to read, and that face that he was making right there was, I'm out of this business. I've got to get out of this. This is not what I wanted. I want to change my life. I want to get out of podcasting. I want to go back to marketing. I'm done with all of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like when I was marketing, I didn't have to deal with Stuttering John. Clip 12. Again, Stuttering John pretends that he cannot remember something.
You're a little razzled because this episode exists somewhere.
I don't know
when we track it down. We track it down, your family's not going to be too pleased with you, my friend.
It was me on.
And that's the fucked up thing, because I don't really care. I'm not a tattletale. But the fact that you go on there and talk about everyone bashing your kids and how terrible that is, and really you're the one who was doing it, is insane to me. It's so hypocritical.
On Artie's show?
On Artie Lake's podcast. Yep.
I don't remember it at all. But
yeah, well, you were pretty
what
drunk.
was I making jokes about?
You were pretty drunk. Well, you were making jokes about people missing certain private parts and things like that. So,
well, it must have been a long, long time ago then.
Oh yeah, long time ago, back when you were in your like early 50s.
That was a pretty good line. And Stuttering John again, just justifying it by being like, it must have been a long time ago, so it's okay for him to make fun of trans people. And again, like, how long has your kid been trans? Didn't they transition rather recently, like within the past 6 years? And
again, like, I've said enough shit on my show that, I've had people throw it back in my face, and it's like, I thought it was funny. I'm not going to apologize for anything that I said. I went for a joke and missed. Don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I think many people don't understand, like, when you sit there and talk for hours and hours and hours of your life, like, you're going to say some shit you shouldn't have said. You're going to say some shit you regret you said. You're going to say some shit you thought was funny, and then you're like, it wasn't really funny. But you just move on. It's just the way it goes, Also, I want to tell Carl the word is frazzled, not razzled. So next time. This is a Stuttering John coping, taking a page out of Steel Toe's book. That would be clip 13.
Oh yeah, that was I stopped doing that. It isn't appropriate anymore.
When did you stop doing it? 2 years ago?
No, about 7 years ago.
That's a lie. All right, that's another lie.
Why? How long ago?
It was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, all right. I said it 2 years ago. I don't remember, but I had to stop. I didn't.
Sorry, again, we're talking about the trans jokes. I should have prefaced it with that. They're talking about the prejudice, the trans jokes, and John goes from 10 years to 7 years, eventually begrudgingly admitting to 2 years, although he says he doesn't remember.
Well, you have to understand that John was razzled.
He was razzled. That's the key here. Yeah. So Stuttering John is like, that's the thing. He's a frustrating guy. You sit there, like, you can see it in Carl's face, but even as a viewer, it's like, would you answer the fucking cock-sucking fucking question, motherfucker? Just answer it. Just say, like, you know what? You're right. I was making those jokes that I shouldn't have made. Not, I can't remember. I forget. It was a long time ago. What? What are you talking about? Huh? I made those jokes. It was Artie's show. Wait, what? It's like, motherfucker, you remember all this shit. You remember all of it, and you're pretending you don't.
What story? What friend? It's
Yeah.
the same. It's the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think they call that gaslighting, right?
Well, Stuttering John has a very broad definition of gaslighting. It turns out we saw in a different Carl pulled a clip where like Stuttering John, like the word sycophant, he repeatedly uses it incorrectly. And it's like, you hear somebody use it, just look the word up, be sure of the definition, then fucking go for it. But don't sit there and just repeatedly misuse the word, even after people tell you you're using it incorrectly. He doesn't care. He doesn't give a shit.
Sometimes he can be a real pejorative.
Yeah, definitely. My clip 14 is for the people. That's all I'll say.
In fact, if I'm at the pub, there's this guy. Check this out. Tell me how okay. He orders. I'm gonna puke.
If you've ever wanted to see Stuttering John gagging and almost vomit, that's for you.
What the fuck was going on there?
They were talking about mayo, how they have a mutual distaste for mayo. And Stuttering John was trying to explain a guy who at the bar that he goes to would put mayo all over his sandwich or something, and was telling Carl how gross it was and nearly throwing up in the meantime. This I thought was interesting because this is this clip 16. Oh wait, I'm sorry, clip 15, where John addresses trolls ruining his gigs.
What Dante said to me, he goes, John, there's 5,000 people in this Dabble, whatever, anonymous.
Yeah.
And he said, you're unbookable. He goes, I don't even think that we can try and book you on TV gigs because they're going to call that network and fucking do this.
And they should not do that.
Now, is there any way Carl really believes that's the reason that his gigs were getting canceled? Because trolls were calling, threatening violence to women, threatening bad Yelp reviews, and somebody's like, you're unbookable because people don't like you. Now, don't they book like highly controversial, like that, what was that guy's name? Milos, what was it? That fucking dude.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, like they book that guy at colleges. They book Alex Stein places. They book some pretty divisive personalities. But Stuttering John, the whole Dabbleverse is calling in and threatening violence towards, like, why would they do it? Why would a club owner believe it? And why would they set the precedent of like, oh, somebody's threatening some stuff? Well, we can't have that person. Like if it was fucking Chappelle or Louis C.K. at that venue.
I would imagine in the heat of the moment in that discussion, just based off the clip that I saw, Carl had a fork in the road and he had to either question John's lie or, he thought about when they were going to do that live event at Vinny's place. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but they had people calling the fire marshal or whatever the fuck it was. And, Carl is very anti-doxing, anti-real life shit.
Fucking with people, yeah.
Yeah, and I think he just had to pick which road to go down, and he went down the road of, I don't agree with that type of shit. I would imagine that's what it was.
Yeah, I think also probably what happened was somebody got a call, like somebody got a call at the comedy place. They were like, hey, they're threatening violence towards women. And the owner or the manager is like, well, how many tickets has this guy sold? 3? Fuck it then. Let's cancel them. That's the way I see it going. I don't see Stuttering John like packing a house and then, unless it's a barbecue restaurant. I think that was his big thing. There's a barbecue restaurant. My clip 16 is something that is so typical of your lefty mentality that it's actually amusing that Stuttering John did this.
Said just get away from my house, okay. And then or I'm going to call the cops to have you, because I thought they were hanging out in front of my house. Like, what would you do?
So that was again Elisa Jordana. I gotta set these clips up better. I apologize. That was Elisa Jordana and her friend coming to Stuttering John's house, and he said he was going to call the cops. And this is very typical of lefties who get into situations where they need the police, but at the same time want to defund them. So I don't get like why Stuttering John is going to be calling the police on anyone.
Was John part of that defund the police bullshit?
Well, I assume that since he's on the left and he agrees with every single thing that progressives and leftists have to say, that he would be defunding the police as well. That's just me making a leap.
Yep.
But it's very typical. Like he calls the cops on everybody. He called the cops because somebody tweeted. I think it was Chad. Like Chad sent a tweet and he called the cops. You know, he called the cop. He said, although it was later probably disproven, that he called the cops in Rochester to talk about doing the exact thing that he's saying people are doing to him, calling his venues and getting him canceled.
I think it's great when Chad does shit like that. I think he'll say, I just got my tickets to AC as an example, Atlantic City as an example, or something like that. Or I just got this gun or whatever.
Yeah.
And I love it.
I gotta say, it's not popular opinion, but I enjoy Chadwick. Like I like him. I like that. I mean, I don't think that like the sniping of MLC is like that. Again, that got old, but like his Kumia Cuck show, I find amusing because it's all people I know. So I think it's funny that he's making fun of him and shit, but yeah, I enjoy Chad.
Yeah. There was like 3 appearances in a row that I was pro Chad on WATP, and I was the only one.
Yeah.
At least on that episode anyway.
Yeah, I thought about taking a page out of Chad's playbook and pretending that I like Steel Toe when we first got on.
I was going to do the same thing. I had even kind of formulated how I was going to start out the show, which is I watched 3 episodes of this, and honestly, there wasn't a whole lot to clip from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's so great. Well, it's a good thing I wasn't co-hosting with John because that might have happened. Clip 17, all I have is Carl gets real. I'm not sure what I mean by that.
Can't say thank you for $5. Hi, Stuttering John. Carl, when will you go after Steel Toe? Why are you scared of Aaron S. Holte? That show is not good, and you know it, sir. Yeah, okay, answer that, Carl.
It's actually this month is the answer, and that's real.
Yeah, that must be why I pulled it. Carl gets real, and that's real. Now, will people be disappointed that it's you and I versus Carl?
Yeah.
Though they shouldn't be, because I think that we've said stuff that Carl would not have said.
And I'm going to say that they're going to say that we took it easy on him.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what more people would want. I don't hate him because I don't like him enough, or I'm just not that invested.
I think what they want is for us to go stand outside the Imholtz residence, throw a brick through their fucking picture window, and start screaming at them how much their show sucks.
Would that make you guys happy? Is that what we need to do?
Road trip.
Yeah. I'll meet you in Kansas. This is a clip 18 is my feeling that John doesn't necessarily need to address everything.
Extra friends, $2. Pocky says hi. Liver spots. Gigi, I don't give a fuck. Liver. These could be sunspots too. I was out in the sun my whole fucking childhood.
Now, I was out in the sun my whole childhood too, and not only that, I was a lifeguard for about 5 years. So, I don't know. I don't have any sunspots. I do have a liver spot on my hand though. It's maddening. When you get older, you see that kind of shit popping up.
It's all part of the gig, man.
Yeah.
Like that's again, if he's going to address it, yeah. So okay. What do you want from me?
Yeah. That's he's like, they could be sunspots, could be liver spots, but again, our sunspot, it's a spot on your fucking head. Whether it came from like the sun or it's a liver spot, what fucking difference does it make? It's a spot on your head. I don't understand the nonstop defense and justification and cope. It's like somehow a spot on his head is his fault and it needs to be rectified. It's like he would be like just make a joke about it or move on or don't read the super chat. Take the $2 loss, or actually, what would it be? It would be $1.40 loss after YouTube takes their cut.
Well, is it really a loss? Are they gonna go back and fucking get a refund on their super chat because you didn't read it?
Yeah. I mean, that would be a pain in the ass for $2. Well, maybe do I have pretty fucking liver spot free my forehead anyway. This is earlier clip 19. I should have played this earlier, where John talks about his NYU education.
He just said that I'm not doing anything with it. I went for film and TV. I've been on TV for 30 years, and this dumb fuck says I'm not doing anything with it. I wasn't on TV. I wasn't in movies.
I said you're not doing anything with it.
That's the distinction that Carl made that I thought was important. He's not doing anything with it right now, as evidenced by his shitty fucking presentation with every podcast that he does. I just don't get the guy. I don't get Stuttering John. Like, even like, I've been on TV for 30 years. No, look, I was on TV. I was on TV from 2012 to 2017, I think, which was 5 years. I don't say I've been on TV for 11 years because the show ended fucking 6 years ago, you know? So it's just like, no, dude, you haven't been on TV for 30 years. You were on TV for your Stern run, and then you were on TV for a couple years with your Tonight Show run, and then barely on TV because people didn't want to look at you. So they gave you the job as a writer, probably not because you were a great writer. Probably because Jay Leno was like, felt guilty. He's like, fuck, I fucking fished this guy out of the Stern thing as a revenge fuck, and now I'm stuck with him. He's no good on camera. He's awkward. He's off-putting. People don't really seem to, he's no Ed McMahon, which is who we thought he was going to be. So what do? I'll stick him in the writer's room.
Yeah, and I'm sure I don't know enough about this to have any sort of viewpoint, but that generally doesn't stop me. I'm sure what it was is, they paid the money to get him from Stern, as you said, the revenge fuck. And then it's like, okay, now we got this dipshit here. We've got to give him something else to do other than just be the announcer. So just have him go write a joke or something. Just keep him busy.
Yeah, because I've been in writers' rooms, and you don't have to contribute a fuck ton. Like, you write a sketch, then a bunch of other people rewrite your sketch, other people look at it, people pick it apart, you got to rewrite it, all that kind of shit, So it's like, if you have a basic idea, a lot of times in a writer room, that's enough. And then,
just give them a premise.
People punch it up, yeah. My clip 20 is Carl gets a shot in that Stuttering John doesn't like.
You actually had an important role on Howard Stern show. You would know who they are, because that was one of your competitors in a major market that you were like. Howard Stern knows who the fuck they are. You should too, but you're just a call screener, so it's fine. It's not a big deal. I'm buddies with Drew Lane now and those guys, and they're going to be part of our live show.
Is that what you really believe? I'm just a call screener.
Yeah, well, you were a stunt boy too.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so my whole career is a call screener. You're such a fucking asshole.
I don't know if you picked up on it when we had John on earlier. I gave the same response to John that Stuttering John just gave to Carl when John said, "Doug, you're no better than Aaron, or Aaron's better than you." Oh yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah, he did not like to hear. He doesn't want his accomplishments diminished in any fashion. And he has had accomplishments. That's why, when people are like, oh, Stuttering John versus Shuley, it's like, professionally, yes, Stuttering John has done more than Shuley. But in terms of industriousness and getting something going, fucking Shuley has done way more than Stuttering John. Stuttering John he can't even fucking podcast past sundown because he doesn't have any goddamn lights in his house. Whereas Shuley's shit looks pretty professional, and they I look at those guys and I'm like, God damn, I wish I had the technical skills they have, like pulling up fucking pictures and fucking pulling up videos and all kinds of stuff, graphics. I might be too old for the game. I don't know. I'm a young streamer trying to looking to make my way. What do we got here? Oh, this clip 21 is for anybody that out there that wants a drop.
Oh, it's not letting me play that one.
Won't let you play clip 21?
No.
Huh? What's it saying?
It's a StreamYard problem.
Oh shit. Well, I pulled the clip. It's Stuttering John saying, "I know you think I'm an asshole, but I'm not." I thought people might like that as a drop. Well, we could run in right into clip 22, where this is where I actually believe Stuttering John shows the slightest bit of evolution into his brain functioning correctly and rationally. For just a moment.
Of you bashing trans, you're gonna look like a fraud, John. Hey, whatever. I mean, it was a different time, different place, and I didn't know what the hell it was. In fact, I used to do a joke on stage that when my daughter told me she was trans, I used to say, "So what are you, an airline?"
Run, call me a home run.
Like, what the fuck, man? Like, if you're gonna make that joke, a car. Like, it's a terrible joke. But if you're gonna say, like, "Oh, you're trans, what are you, a car?" Not an airline.
The first thing I thought of when you played that clip is referencing John's memory, how he doesn't remember any of the bad shit, but he can remember verbatim a shitty joke from apparently 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his memory is very selective, but I was happy to hear him say, like, for once, he wasn't fucking coming down on everybody else and talking about how everyone else needs to atone for their fucking past sins and all this other shit. He's like, it was a long time ago. And basically, and I've heard him say a couple of things, in yesterday's Hypocrisy Police as well, where he's talking about just like, you shouldn't be crucified for something you said 30 years ago. Like, if you're saying it today, okay, then it's a problem. But jokes you made and shit you said back in, like, the 90s or the 2000s. And I think as far as I can tell, we're getting away from that kind of shit. You don't see people like there's no more pandemic. So people don't have a hard on sitting around like looking for anything to do, which includes canceling people for fucking jokes they made or shit they said or things they did, decades and decades ago. So, like, could this be a kinder and gentler Stuttering John we see coming down the pike? Maybe he won't be so. No, he'll still be equally as judgmental about everybody and everything.
Yep. Oh, no, I think anything that you think he learned in this conversation with Carl is already gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're probably right about that. The one thing about this part two is he didn't shout over Carl as much as he did in the first one, but Carl still, like, he gets a couple points in, but for the 2.5 hour slog that this thing was, Carl should have gotten to talk more. But Stuttering John is just, he doesn't want to address anything that, like Carl's busting his balls calling him a call screener and shit, but like the hardcore stuff that you're just like, just fucking answer the motherfucking question, John. Just answer it. That's what I mean. He's just so fucking frustrating.
Yeah.
My final clip has come full circle with more slings and arrows from Vinnie Paulino and my feelings about Vinnie Paulino at the end.
And he said that about you. He's like,
Vinny's off my Christmas card list. Jesus.
No, he's like Carl's. He's a nerd. But he goes, is he a good marketer? Yeah.
That was the only compliment he gave me. I'm a good marketer.
Yeah, but he goes, he's a nerd.
I'm going to text this motherfucker right now. He's on my shit list.
He's a great guy. I love that guy. He's a guy that can be my friend.
He just texted me. He says, I feel like Lex Luthor after giving the kryptonite bomb to Otis to use on Superman.
Okay. Vinny sent me that same text, and I had no fucking idea what he was talking about. So for Vinny to be calling Carl a nerd, give me a fucking break. I was on a comic book show for 7 fucking years. I had no idea what he was fucking talking about. It's some obscure like it's like Lex Luthor's henchmen or something. I had to look it up. So for Vinnie Paulino to be calling Carl a nerd, Carl, I think you got some ammo. And again, this is more shit from Vinny Paulino coming Carl's way. So I'm curious to see where this goes. Will Vinny and Stuttering John do a show together? I'd watch that.
If there's a double cross coming from Vinny, then I'll watch it. I'll wait to find out.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have any interest in listening to Vinny and Stuttering John befriend each other.
But if it's a double cross, then it's worth it.
Yeah, I'll invest my time for the double cross.
And there's a lot of that goes on in this world, like MLC, Shuley, Chad, some of the smaller, Ray DeVito. It's like everybody's constantly double crossing each other. Alliances shift, and suddenly, Shuley hates Chad, then Chad has a show on the Shuley network. And then fucking, Carl hates Chad, but then, or KB hates Chad, but then KB suddenly on Chad's show,
So there's like 7 players in that game. And in the last 6 months, any one of them have hated the other one and shit talked him and shit streamed him or whatever. But it's the same 7 people just cycling through each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what like at first I really was enjoying the MLC and Chad, the sniping back and forth. But then it got to the point where KB he's just yelling the same shit over and over again. And it's like that, to me, that's not a show. Like reading super chats and just complaining about the same guy. It's kind of like, I get it. It's a way for you to make money and you're making some decent, you're not e-begging. That's a difference. When KB, it's like, if he'll hit the like button, you cowards, or something like that. But he doesn't constantly remind people about the super chats and send me more money and all the can rattling like April and Aaron do. Yeah, and incidentally, my offer to make April a sister wife still stands to this day. I have yet to hear from her, but my wife and I are willing to open our doors to her. She's going to have to babysit once in a while, though. We got a 17-year-old kid with Down syndrome who's really fun, though. But she could go do girly. Well, I don't know. She could teach her how to hunt and how to fish. All that stuff that I can't do because I'm not manly enough.
All right. Is that the...
That was it for the Stuttering John segment. Yep. And it sucks because, I wish I was better at pulling video because I would have went back and pulled stuff that as recently as last night that I saw. I was like, Jesus Christ, this guy. It's unreal.
Yeah, this...
He was on with Alex Stein, and he's defending Bill Clinton with Monica Lewinsky, the whole Bill Clinton Monica Lewinsky thing. And it's like, dude, where have you been? Alex Stein was like, it's the same thing as Harvey Weinstein and some of these actresses. And Stuttering John's like, no, it was consensual with Monica Lewinsky. It's like, no, it's a dude in a position of power exploiting a younger girl for his own sexual wants and needs. That's it. It's that simple. So, if you're going to defend fucking Bill Clinton, you have to defend Harvey. Stuttering John.
I don't know. I think I could if I have to choose one to defend, I could choose to defend Harvey Weinstein only because I'm not aware of him sticking a cigar up anybody's pussy.
Yeah. Beret wearing gal. So that's it for Stuttering John. Yep. And that's it for Steel Toe. My review girl didn't want to do a review today. I had my wife, who's a review girl sometimes, decided she wanted to go swimming with the kid instead. So,
you want to wrap this up, or do you want to do a Patrick Michael real quick?
Oh, I could always do a Patty Puke Water, Patty C Cups.
We'll make it short.
Okay.
Don't tell me if you don't like my show. Don't tell me if you don't like my show. Don't tell me. Don't tell me if you don't like my show. Don't tell me if you don't like my show. Don't tell me. Because that's absurd.
All right. I listened to an episode of Free Water that came out yesterday or the day before. And going into it, I was not excited. I've listened to enough to him of Patrick Michael to know that I've listened to him say all the dumb shit that one person could possibly say. I was wrong. So
really, he's expanded.
He has expanded his stupidity. This first clip is just that in and of itself, just talking or him saying something that dumb enough for me to clip.
But I will say I am happy to be doing this because it took me a little while to want to fucking sit down and just talk to myself while talking to you guys.
He's so fucking stupid. So what the little bit of this episode that I listened to, he spends a lot of time talking about his live stream. What is it? Great Job Awesome. Is that his YouTube channel?
Yeah.
And how much he doesn't podcast as much anymore because he spends all his time doing that. And then he starts talking about how he doesn't like doing that because then people can interact with him in the chat, which is why you should go do it, because then you can interact with him with the chat.
Those of you that aren't aware, it's live chat. People get to sort of be a part of the show. And as I always said, not one of my favorite things. Okay?
If you want to listen, if you want to come over and interact with me, I don't want to interact with you.
Yeah. Is he monetized? Is he taking super chats and stuff?
I don't know that I don't know how many, if he's got the sub count and all of that yet.
Yeah. Should go find him and sub to him so he can start making a couple bucks. Although he'll find a way to say no, he doesn't want to do that for some reason.
Right. Or block you.
I'm not caught up that much on Patty. Where does he work? Does he work? Does he work?
The only thing I am so far removed from that universe, I only listened to an episode prior to doing an episode of WATP.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Because I know there was a stretch where he was at Arby's, but that was some time ago.
This is an example of him saying something and cracking himself up, which it's pretty good. The clip itself is 1 minute and 11 seconds long. What he does is he'll crack himself up. I think he throws in an applause break in there, and then it is a full minute of the background music. I assume it's just waiting for people to recover from the laugh.
Because remember, like he said, 150 pounds is a towel to him. Don't forget to bring a towel.
And now it is 55 seconds of just this music playing.
After he said, don't forget to bring a towel.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to jump ahead in the clip here to when he comes back.
Okay, so enough about that guy. Enough about the Bradley Martin fella.
A full minute to recover from that joke.
Wow. He's something else, man. He's an interesting case study. Like if I could sit in on his therapy, I would pay for it.
Yeah, I think he is a lot like Aaron he's like Aaron without the super chats.
And the inability to make Harley come. That might be why she took off. Like, he never mentions his kids anymore, as far as I can hear. I mean, as far as like I've listened and
yeah, this one here is just an example of I don't have any room to talk based off of this episode that we just did, but the soundboard that he's using appears to be a distraction because just in the audio, you can see him struggling. He has something in his head. He thinks he has a sound, and then he tries to get back to talking, and there's some gaps in there with the distraction.
It's not that important. I'm not that interested, although there are a few new YouTube channels that I've became a fan of simply because they're covering this. And they happen to actually have, like, kickboxing backgrounds and shit, and they're like, there's no fucking way. There's no fucking way. So I applaud that, you know.
He knew where he wanted to go. He knew how he was going to get there. He just didn't know how long it was going to take.
You know who is the master of dead air is Ron Bennington. Like Ron Bennington knows exactly how to use dead air. Patty, it seems, does not.
And then the last clip I have from Patrick Michael is I don't even remember what it is. It's just a clip I saved for Carl's board.
It doesn't make any sense. Some people just say things to say them.
And that's that.
That sums up Patty. For sure.
All right.
So we don't have a review girl, and we don't have Lucy Tightbox, and we don't have any voicemails.
So I think
That's
that's
it.
about it.
Yeah. so
Okay, folks.
Guess what?
The
episode's over.
Okay, bye.
Farting in the mosh pits of morning radio.
Okay. Great show. Good job, everybody.
Great job, everyone.
Who are these
podcasts?
I don't know.
I don't get it.
Makes no sense.